If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 41, Revealing the Dark Nature of the World. Think about it more carefully. I want to be honest with you. If you agree to work with me in the future, some of the steps or experiments we might need to take for some of my planned research certainly might go against the medical ethics of you or your parents, for example, and against the general societal norms. However, I want to remind you again that I didn't save you out of my kindness today, or that I didn't have anything better to do. I saved you because of your potential and value for my plans. If you disagree, then you are irrelevant to me, and who will save you in the future if such a situation happens again? Could that girl, or some other main branch member, randomly target you again for a slight mistake? What would happen to your brain at that time if the cursed seal common stayed activated for much longer? I'm not saying all this to be mean but to make you understand that power is everything in this world. As Hikari spoke these words, his demeanor was calm yet intense, his gaze fixed on Hinome with unwavering seriousness. Hikari's expression softened slightly when mentioning the potential dangers Hinome could face without his protection, not out of pity, but as a stark reminder of the harsh realities of their world. And if you promise to follow me from now on, I promise that I will help you get more power and not find yourself in such a situation ever again, and rise to the top of the ninja world alongside me. Think everything through. You have to rely only on yourself in this world at the end of the day. And on our joint research journey, we will share the information toward power needed for that goal together. However, when he talked about the potential violations of medical ethics and societal norms, his eyes betrayed a flicker of resolve, indicating his willingness to push boundaries for the sake of greater achievements. This was not a decision he took lightly, but a calculated risk he believed was necessary for progress and power. His words were spoken with a conviction that resonated in the quiet of their secluded meeting spot. It was a moment of honesty, with Hikari laying bare the challenges and rewards that lay ahead, should she choose to join him. As Hinome listened to Hikari, she thought deeply about what he was saying. Hikari's straight talk made her see that maybe seeking power and strength, even if it meant bending some rules, wasn't such a bad idea. What had happened to her parents, who were sent to the front lines and died, without any say in the matter, not controlling their own destinies, similar to what also happened to her today and recently, which she was also powerless to resist, made her question the beliefs she grew up with about always doing good and helping others without expecting anything in return using her medical knowledge. Since the loss of her parents, Hinome had learned to fend for herself. Hikari's insistence on self-reliance also resonated with her life lessons deeply. So, when Hikari finished speaking, Hinome paused to gather her thoughts before responding. Her voice was firmer now, a sign of her newfound resolve. I've thought about it, she said, I see what you're saying, and the risks involved. But after everything I went through when and after losing my parents, I see that sticking to the old ways isn't enough. If being with you means I won't be helpless again, then I'm in. I'm ready to follow you and learn from you as well. While declaring this, she felt that it wasn't just agreeing to work with Hikari, but that she was also choosing a new path that promised her strength, independence, and the chance to make a difference in a new way. She felt like it was worth it. Meanwhile, Hinome's curiosity about Hikari also grew as she listened to him. How could a boy of just 6 years speak with such maturity about life, power, and breaking societal norms? His plans were far-reaching, his understanding of the world seemingly beyond his years. As she watched him speak, his white eyes cold and indifferent to the world around them, she couldn't help but wonder about the journey that had brought him to this point. Hikari's parents were known for their compassion and dedication to selflessly helping others, quite the opposite of the path Hikari was now choosing. Then, she recalled the rumors that had circulated within the clan about 3 years ago, shortly after the tragic loss of his parents. Hikari had been labeled the son of traitors, subjected to the clan's disdain and isolation. So, maybe that's what changed him, she thought. The realization that Hikari had been forced to confront such harsh realities at a young age provided some context for the drastic shift in his worldview. This reflection led Hinome to a personal epiphany. If Hikari could step away from his parents' ideals and carve his own path from such a young age, then why couldn't she? She cherished her parents and their teachings, but the desire to forge her own future, on her terms, grew stronger within her. Yes. I'm endlessly grateful and I love my parents, but I want to go on my own path in the future, Hinome resolved, her gaze fixed on the young boy before her. Despite being 2 years her junior, Hikari exuded an aura of maturity and inherent nobility that belied his age. Meanwhile, Hikari, inwardly quite pleased with Hinome's response, felt relieved. He had anticipated that convincing her to adopt some of his perspectives and perhaps darken her outlook on life would be a challenging task. He had thought that even getting her to accept his support might be difficult. From his past observations of her, Hikari had pegged Hinome as the quintessential introvert, and in his experience, introverts were often the most resistant to stepping outside their comfort zones. What Hikari hadn't considered, however, was the significant role his parents' legacy played in shaping Hinome's initial impression of him. Unbeknownst to him, the positive image Hinome held of Hikari was deeply influenced by the actions of his parents, who had once saved her own. This prior connection laid a foundation of trust and goodwill that made Hinome more open to Hikari's proposal than he had anticipated. However, suddenly deciding to provide Hinome with even more incentive, Hikari leaned in closer, capitalizing on primal human desires like greed and envy and better standing within their social hierarchy. As their faces drew near, Hinome felt a jolt of surprise. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper and tinged with the weight of a taboo subject, Hikari addressed the topic. "In fact, it is not without the realm of possibility for us to get rid of this for you," he hinted, his eyes briefly darting to the forehead seal hidden beneath her bangs. "A decade from now. I feel like I might be able to help you do something about that if you remain eager in your studies and cooperate with me well until then." Hikari concluded, his words laden with the promise of freedom from the clan's oppressive mark. He knew that the mere mention of potentially removing the cursed seal spoke directly to a hidden desire for equality and autonomy that lived within every side branch member. By introducing this prospect, Hikari not only heightened Hinome's motivation to align with him but also subtly underscored the depth of the connection that he sought to make with her. However, after retreating back to his original position following his whispered proposition, Hikari was taken aback to see Hinome blushing. It took him a moment to understand why, leading to a surprising realization. It seems that this girl thought about that way to get rid of the cursed seal inside the clan. The thought crossed Hikari's mind that Hinome might be considering the traditional and only known method within the Hyuga clan for a side branch member to be freed from the cursed seal marriage into the main branch. With him in this case. Following such a union, if the patriarch allowed it in the first place, then he would also set up a top-secret ritual to remove the cursed mark for the member of the main branch family. Hikari had, in the past, attributed the practice of main branch members marrying into the side branch as a means to circumvent the consequences of inbreeding, a matter of practical and genetic importance to the Hyuga clan. The rationale behind this practice was clear: by selecting side branch members with the most desirable Kekkei Genkai genetics and the highest Byakugan purity, the main branch could mitigate the risks of genetic defects that might arise from too close interbreeding. This strategic pairing not only safeguarded the clan's health but also ensured the continuation of its most powerful traits, keeping the main branch's genetics ahead of the side branch forever. With the Hyuga clan encompassing roughly 1,000 members across both branches, the selection process for these unions was vast, providing a wider genetic pool from which to choose than only from inside the main branch. There were only about 100 main branch members at any given time, approximately 10 from each lineage, to engage in such unions. This limitation was also strictly enforced to maintain the delicate balance between the main and side branches and to preserve the clan's hierarchical structure. Therefore, those personal unions with the side branch were the only logical choice. It was a 10 times bigger genetic pool to choose from, therefore the risk of genetic defects was quite lowered by that point. Furthermore, to diversify the gene pool and minimize inbreeding problems even more, the side branch itself was occasionally allowed to marry talented civilians, thereby integrating new blood into the clan. This process required the explicit approval of the patriarch, who was actively involved in such matters. Far from being a mere formality, the patriarch played a proactive role, constantly on the lookout for civilians with potential talents that could benefit the clan. The focus was on individuals who had no affiliations with other clans and who had clear backgrounds. These civilians, once brought into the fold through marriage, did not become full side branch members, with cursed seals, but their offspring did. This fact, however, did not dissuade many from pursuing this path. The allure of the benefits provided by the clan, coupled with the increased chances of survival and prosperity under the Hyuga name, was a compelling incentive. Such practices were not unique to the Hyuga clan. Other major shinobi clans, including the Uchiha, engaged in similar strategies to ensure the vitality and strength of their lineages. These measures were essential to prevent genetic defects and maintain the health and capabilities of the clan members. While Hikari pondered how to clarify the misunderstanding without causing further embarrassment, Hinome's bangs slid further down, concealing her eyes as she slumped slightly on the bench. The blush of embarrassment didn't fade from her face, instead, it seemed to deepen as she grappled with her own thoughts, A decade later, that's around the age people consider for marriage, isn't it? Oh no. Does Hikari-sama think, is he suggesting something like that to me? Her mind raced, tying together Hikari's words with the traditional way the cursed seal could be removed, leading to her misinterpretation that Hikari might be hinting at a future marriage proposal. This thought sent waves of shock and confusion through her, as she tried to make sense of the situation while dealing with the embarrassment of her assumption. After a moment of contemplation, Hikari let out a sigh and once more leaned in closer to Hinome, mindful of the sensitivity of the information he was about to share. His proximity caused Hinome's blush to intensify, yet the need for discretion made it necessary. Ahem. What I meant was not that traditional method. There is another way, he clarified. Chapter 42, Recruiting Hinome for the Future Plans. In the future, once I've gained sufficient strength and political influence within the clan, I plan to implement some reforms. To be brief, these reforms would allow talented individuals like you to be freed from your cursed seal without necessarily becoming full main branch members, with all of our rights, something the other elders might not agree to even then. Instead, you would represent a new class within the clan. This wouldn't place you squarely in either the main or side branches, but you'd be free of the cursed mark that's limiting your Byakugan's potential. And that is also important for our plans regarding the research stuff, by the way. And most importantly, it would also grant you freedom, Hikari explained hastily. Meanwhile, inwardly Hikari considered that even if Hinome and her useful Byakugan hadn't been part of the equation, he would still have pursued his plan to reform the Hyuga clan. His goal was to enhance the clan's overall strength, recognizing that the stronger the clan became, the more solid his own position in the village and the world in general and support in terms of resources and everything else would be. Hikari understood the crucial importance of having a powerful backing. He felt firsthand just how important it was the last few years. His rationale for the reforms was clear: by allowing the talents within the side branch to fully develop and flourish, the Hyuga clan as a whole would grow stronger. For too long, the potential of side branch members had been stifled, their motivation dampened by the oppressive reality of being branded as slaves. By proposing a way to eliminate the cursed seal without eroding the power of the main branch, Hikari aimed to inspire these talented individuals, giving them goals to aspire to and the freedom to pursue those goals with vigor, making them way stronger than they would have been otherwise and giving the clan new elites. This innovative new class within the clan was also designed to be a compromise that would appease main branch members by not diminishing their status or authority. Hikari believed that this approach would not cause significant upheaval within the clan. After all, it would likely affect only a few exceptionally talented individuals in each generation, without drastically altering the established boundaries and traditions of the Hyuga clan. By carefully balancing the needs and aspirations of both branches, Hikari's plan sought to foster unity and drive within the clan, promoting a culture where talent and effort were recognized and rewarded. This, he believed, was the key to ensuring the Hyuga clan's continued dominance and success in the shinobi world. Regarding the idea of completely freeing all side branch members from the cursed seal, Hikari found it laughable. He thought that he couldn't possibly be a Jesus-like, saint-type figure even bigger than Naruto, since even he, despite the promise in the original series and how he was portrayed, after becoming Hokage, in that sequel, still didn't abolish the practice for some reason. Hikari also knew that removing the cursed seal entirely could jeopardize the resources, status, and power structure that supported his training and his position within the clan. More so, Hikari pondered the unintended consequences of such an action. With the cursed seal gone, there was no telling whether some side branch members, liberated after centuries of subjugation, might seek retribution against the main branch members, including Hikari himself. The practice of the cursed seal, deeply ingrained in the clan's history, had created a long-standing divide. Removing it abruptly could lead to unrest and vendettas, destabilizing the clan from within. Hikari's approach was more calculated. He aimed for a reform that would empower talented side branch members without completely upending the existing clan structure. By introducing a new class, he sought to minimize the potential for chaos while still addressing some of the inefficiencies present in the current system. This strategy was about finding a balance, improving the clan's overall strength and cohesion without igniting internal conflict that could tear it apart. Meanwhile, realizing her misunderstanding about Hikari's intentions, Hinome felt a rush of mixed emotions. The initial shock and embarrassment that came from misinterpreting his hint about the cursed seal gave way to a sense of relief but also a bit of awkwardness. The thought that she had jumped to conclusions about marriage, of all things, made her cheeks warm with a blush that refused to fade. Once Hikari clarified his actual plan introducing reforms to create a new class within the clan without the need for marriage, Hinome couldn't help but feel slightly foolish for her assumption. Yet, there was also a growing respect for Hikari's foresight and his careful consideration of the clan's future and her role in it. Hinome's embarrassment at her mistake quickly became overshadowed by her intrigue in Hikari's proposal. It was a moment she saw in Hikari not just a clan member with ambitious plans but as a natural-born visionary leader and genius who could steer the Hyuga toward a more inclusive and dynamic future. Hikari's proposal ignited a profound desire within her, unlocking thoughts and aspirations that she had previously deemed untouchable. The idea of a life beyond the confines of the cursed seal, which some in the side branch somberly referred to as the birdcage seal, suddenly seemed within reach. This cursed seal, a symbol of suppression and control, had long cast a shadow over the lives of side branch members, dictating their position within the clan and limiting their potential. The thought of being freed from this birdcage represented one of the deepest, most fervent wishes of those born into the side branch, a wish so profound and sensitive that it was barely acknowledged even in private thoughts. Hikari's promise, or even the mere suggestion, of finding a path to such freedom was revolutionary for Hinome. It transformed her understanding of what was possible. The sudden personal ambition and rush of desires Hinome experienced became even more poignant in light of the day's events. The activation of the cursed seal and the pain it inflicted upon her for the first time, all because of a minor medical mistake made by a main branch member, intensified her longing for freedom. In this moment of vulnerability and revelation, Hikari now emerged in Hinome's eyes not just as a visionary with a bold plan but as a savior, a source of hope in a world that had seemed determined to limit her. His proposal offered a way out, a chance to escape the birdcage that had defined her existence and to pursue a life of her choosing, free from the constraints imposed by her birthright. Observing the unmistakable glint of aspiration in Hinome's eyes and the subtle cues in her expressions and movements, Hikari couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. To him, it appeared that his ability to influence and guide others was proving exceptionally effective. From their very first conversation, he had managed to secure a talented and dedicated follower, carefully crafting his words to ensure Hinome would come to see him as an indispensable ally and leader. Each statement Hikari made was meticulously planned, aiming to foster a sense of reliance on him. Hikari's decision to delve into the Hyuga clan's more taboo subjects during this initial meeting with Hinome was also strategic. He understood that the humiliation Hinome had faced just now created a unique opportunity for influence, so he changed some plans regarding her and acted on that opportunity, way earlier than previously planned, and, hence, accelerated his entire strategy regarding her. In the aftermath of such a distressing experience, where her vulnerabilities were laid bare, Hinome was more open to a reassessment of her beliefs and, consequently, more receptive to Hikari's ideas. Yet, despite the calculated nature of his approach, Hikari's promises were genuine. He intended to deliver on his promises, but his support was conditional, and extended to those who could contribute to his objectives. In the harsh reality of their world, where interests often dictated everything, Hikari saw no room for naive sentiments. His experiences had taught him that tangible benefits and the fulfillment of desires were far bigger motivators than abstract notions of loyalty or duty. With this in mind, Hikari resolved to leverage desires as a key strategy in attracting and securing the allegiance of future followers. This pragmatic, albeit manipulative, approach reflected Hikari's understanding of human nature and the dynamics of power. By aligning others' ambitions with his own, he aimed to build a coalition of individuals driven by mutual benefit and shared goals. However, Hikari genuinely believed in the principles he shared with Hinome, viewing himself not just as manipulating her but as enlightening her to the world's harsh realities. He saw his actions as opening her eyes, helping her understand and navigate the complexities of their society. To Hikari, this was more than strategy, it was mentorship. He shared his vision with Hinome, aiming to empower her, showing her a path beyond the limitations of the cursed seal and the side branch's constraints and moral constraints. In doing so, Hikari felt he was guiding Hinome toward realizing her potential in a world where power and knowledge could set her free. Since you've agreed to join my plans when the time comes, aside from your studies here, I'm going to assign you another task. You'll be practicing some special methods I've developed to enhance your Byakugan's capabilities, aiming for an even more refined microscopic vision. This is crucial for the research we'll undertake. Interestingly, part of our future research will also focus on advancing our clan's dojutsu, pushing our bloodline to evolve beyond its current limits once we've maximized the potential of those exercises. It's about transcending the inherent limitations our bodies are born with, in a way, evolving our bloodline. Hikari detailed his plans with a clear sense of direction. As Hinome listened, Her demeanor reflected intense curiosity and keen intelligence. Hikari, aware of her sharp mind from the information he had gathered, knew that the prospect of contributing to such groundbreaking research would captivate her. The idea of not only improving her own abilities but also potentially playing a role in advancing the Hyuga bloodline itself was a powerful motivator. Her eyes sparkled with interest as Hikari continued to introduce to her various concepts and some scientific hypotheses he had of his own. She wasn't just a passive listener. Hinome began to contribute her own thoughts and questions, turning their discussion into a vibrant exchange of ideas. Their conversation flowed naturally, with Hikari introducing a concept and Hinome responding with her thoughts, leading to further discussion and occasionally to spirited debate. This dynamic interaction highlighted their mutual respect, intellect, and their shared passion for discovery and innovation. As they discussed Hikari's ideas about evolving the Hyuga bloodline and transcending its current limitations, Hinome felt a surge of excitement at the prospect of being part of such groundbreaking work. Hinome was intrigued by Hikari's unconventional approaches and the breadth of his vision. His ideas sparked new lines of thought for her, broadening her understanding of what might be possible in their field of research. After their engaging conversation, Hikari proceeded to share the specific Byakugan exercise protocols he had developed. He handed Hinome some of his notes, which detailed the exercises and their intended effects on enhancing the Byakugan's capabilities. Furthermore, Hikari introduced Hinome to the concept of yin release, explaining its subtle connection to Byakugan's output. He demonstrated how to generate yin release chakra and incorporate it into their exercises, supplementing the demonstration with additional notes for her to study. Recognizing the importance of consistent practice and mastery, they agreed to meet daily right after their first class on the Institute's terrace. This arrangement would allow Hikari to guide Hinome through the exercises, ensuring she understood and performed them correctly. The goal was for Hinome to become proficient enough to continue the exercises on her own at home, furthering her development independently. As they concluded their meeting, there was a sense of purpose and anticipation between them. They had laid the groundwork for a collaborative journey that promised to unlock new potentials within Hinome and, by extension, contribute to Hikari's broader ambitions. With plans in place, they parted ways, each absorbed in thoughts about the possibilities that lay ahead. Hinome left with a mix of excitement and determination, her mind buzzing with the new knowledge and the challenge of mastering the exercises Hikari had shared. Meanwhile, Hikari felt a sense of satisfaction in having found a willing and capable partner in Hinome. Their daily meetings on the terrace would not only be a time for training but also an opportunity to deepen their mutual understanding and further their shared goals. Chapter 43, The End of the Second Shinobi World War. After wrapping up his conversation with Hinome, Hikari made his way to meet with the director of the Medical Institute, a prominent figure from the Hyuga clan's fourth main lineage. Their discussion was productive, with the director assuring Hikari that Hinome would receive additional support and oversight to prevent any future incidents like the one she recently endured. They also touched upon Hinome's educational trajectory, ensuring that it would align closely with Hikari's ambitions for her. To secure the director's support, Hikari offered him a favor, a gesture of goodwill to be reciprocated in the future when Hikari's influence within the clan had fully matured. Recognizing the potential benefits of aligning with a rising star in the clan, the director was more than willing to accommodate Hikari's requests. It highlighted the keen interest of the clan's elders and other influential figures in forging a positive relationship with him, anticipating his ascent to a significant leadership position. After his successful meeting with the director, Hikari hurried off to his advanced practical Fuinjutsu class, arriving just in time. The Fuinjutsu Hyuga Center, where this specialized branch of ninja arts was also taught to the Hyuga clan, was situated within the side branch residential area. Unlike the imposing and elegant structures commonly found in the main branch's quarters, this building had a more modest but functional appearance. Its design emphasized utility over grandeur, with sturdy wooden architecture and a layout that facilitated focused study and practice. The entrance was marked by a large, engraved symbol of the Hyuga clan, signifying the importance of Fuinjutsu knowledge even within the more utilitarian spaces of the clan's domain. Inside, the Fuinjutsu Center was equipped with various rooms and halls designed for both theoretical learning and practical application of sealing techniques. Hikari's class took place in one of the practical rooms, where individuals could practice their skills on special scrolls and sealing materials provided by the Institute. During the class, Hikari focused intently on the intricate patterns and formulas that formed the basis of advanced Fuinjutsu. He practiced inscribing seals with precise chakra control, demonstrating his proficiency and keen understanding of this complex ninja art. The lesson covered several advanced techniques, including chakra flow manipulation and the creation of temporary binding seals, which required both theoretical knowledge and practical skills. Once the class concluded, Hikari gathered his materials and exited the building, his mind still partially absorbed in the techniques he had practiced. As Hikari made his way back to his residence in the main branch area, his thoughts turned to the wealth and power inherent to major shinobi clans like the Hyuga. It struck him as particularly impressive that the Hyuga clan, not widely recognized for its Fuinjutsu expertise, still maintained its own dedicated Fuinjutsu learning center and division. This facility, although smaller and less populated than the clan's renowned medical division, stood as a testament to the broad educational resources and opportunities available within the clan. This reflection led Hikari to appreciate the significant advantages that came with being part of a prominent shinobi family. As Hikari walked around, his mind wandered to the more profound reasons behind his interest in Fuinjutsu. He had long recognized that, apart from altering his own body hardware to mimic the Otsutsuki, there existed another pathway to achieving the monumental Six Paths level of power within their world. This alternative involved harnessing external, potent sources of chakra, the most important form of energy of this world, such as the tailed beasts, or potentially other yet undiscovered reserves, and sealing them for personal use, a task most effectively accomplished through the art of Fuinjutsu. Determined not to put all his eggs in one basket, Hikari had committed to gaining at least foundational knowledge in Fuinjutsu from a young age. This skill set could serve as a backup if his primary plan to evolve his body fell short, or it could complement and enhance his abilities should his initial strategy succeed. Nonetheless, Hikari recognized that this second approach presented considerable challenges. Acquiring such powerful chakra sources typically meant confronting dozens of opponents of cage-level strength or beyond, due to the sensitive, and highly sought-after nature of the tailed beasts. For this reason, Hikari viewed the second method of achieving Six Paths power through Fuinjutsu and chakra sealing as a more arduous and risky path. It wasn't his preferred strategy for ascending to Six Paths status. Instead, he saw it as a potential avenue to explore only after reaching such a level through his primary means of body evolution. Achieving Six Paths power would then provide him with the necessary strength and capabilities to pursue these external chakra sources with a realistic chance of success. Hikari's contemplations were abruptly brought back to the present as he navigated through the densest part of the side branch residential area on his way to the main branch. Despite the official end of the Second Shinobi World War a few days prior, a conflict that even concluded on terms favorable to Konoha, the mood was far from celebratory. The streets, usually bustling with activity, carried a somber undertone. Many families in the side branch had borne the brunt of the war's casualties and injuries, and the relief of peace was overshadowed by grief and loss. Hikari could sense the collective sorrow and frustration emanating from the people around him. The joy that might have been expected with the war's end was muted, replaced by a reflective and somewhat desolate sentiment. The reality of war's aftermath was starkly evident here, in the heart of the side branch community, where the cost of the clan's contributions to the war effort was most acutely felt. Upon entering the main branch area, Hikari immediately noticed that, despite its separation from the broader world's conflicts, it too was enveloped in a subtle, somber atmosphere. This mood, he understood, stemmed from a different cause than the grief pervading the side branch. The main branch, with its deeper political involvement and connections, was acutely aware of the broader implications of the war's end. The conclusion of the Second Shinobi World War on terms most favorable to Konoha was largely attributed to the efforts of certain elite individuals closely aligned with the Hokage's faction. This faction had long sought to diminish the influence of powerful shinobi clans, including the Hyuga. While the war's outcome solidified Konoha's status as the most powerful ninja village, once again, it also signaled a potential shift in power dynamics within the village that could threaten the traditional authority and autonomy of clans like the Hyuga. Members of the main branch, attuned to these political undercurrents, recognized that the post-war era might usher in changes that would challenge their long-standing positions of influence. The war's end, therefore, was not an unequivocal cause for celebration within the main branch. Instead, it was a reminder of the evolving political landscape and the need to navigate this new reality carefully. For instance, the renown of Hiruzen Sarutobi, the current third Hokage, reached his peak during this period. Known for his mastery over numerous Konoha's secret techniques, all 5 chakra natures, and numerous combination jutsus, Hiruzen earned the moniker God of Shinobi through his active and impactful participation in the war. His reputation was further solidified when he fought to a standstill against the legendary Hanzo the Salamander, also called the demigod, who had audaciously declared war against nearly all 5 great shinobi villages simultaneously and even repelled him in battle. Beyond his combat prowess, Hiruzen also demonstrated exceptional strategic and tactical skills. His influence extended to reshaping team dynamics within Konoha, advocating for innovative small team formations and strategies that emphasized versatility and cooperation. All of those individual achievements left many within the Hyuga clan and other prominent families quite uneasy for obvious reasons. In Hikari's assessment, Hiruzen Sarutobi truly merited the God of Shinobi title for his era, especially considering his ability to confront Hanzo the Salamander on equal footing, a feat unmatched by any other shinobi of the time, openly on the side of the shinobi villages. While the accolade might have echoed the honor once bestowed upon the legendary Hashirama Senju, known for his unparalleled strength and also referred to as the God of Shinobi, Hikari believed Hiruzen's achievements and contributions during his tenure warranted recognition. Despite the reservations he had about the use of the same title for two shinobi of markedly different capacities, with Hashirama being several levels above Hiruzen, obviously a little shamelessly promoted by the Hokage's faction itself, Hikari acknowledged Hiruzen as one of the two strongest shinobi of his generation. In his view, while Hiruzen, alongside Hanzo, might not reach the mythical levels of power possessed by figures like Hashirama and Madara Uchiha, his prowess, leadership, and strategic genius placed him at the pinnacle of shinobi excellence in the current age. Hikari's estimation of Hiruzen's and Hanzo's strength and their place in the hierarchy of shinobi power was informed by the stories and accounts he had absorbed over the years. Beyond Hiruzen, the shinobi clans of Konoha and other villages had more figures to be wary of: Hiruzen's three disciples, who had recently been elevated to legendary status. This accolade came directly from Hanzo the Salamander himself, after they survived an encounter with him that would have spelled certain death for lesser shinobi. Impressed by their valor and prowess, Hanzo dubbed them the Sunin as a mark of respect for their abilities and courage, choosing to spare their lives for reasons that remained a subject of speculation. The theories for the reasons behind Hanzo's decision were varied and complex within the clan. Some theorized that he spared them to maintain some level of respect or diplomatic balance with Hiruzen, with whom he had previously engaged in combat, to maintain some stability or peace. Others speculated that sparing them was a strategic move, possibly to conserve his forces or as a gesture to acknowledge Hiruzen's power indirectly. The least likely, yet still mentioned possibility, was that Hanzo saw something particularly promising in the trio and chose to let them live out of a rare, perhaps even misplaced, sense of admiration or respect. Among the Sunin, Tsunade's medical prowess and advocacy for medical professionals being present in every shinobi team formation also resonated particularly strongly throughout the entire ninja world. Her groundbreaking contributions to medical ninjutsu and her ability to heal wounds that were considered fatal by others set a new standard for medical care within the shinobi communities. Her expertise in dealing with various kinds of poisons was also widely spread. Tsunade's innovations not only saved countless lives on the battlefield but also advanced the field of medical ninjutsu in ways that would benefit future generations of ninja. Meanwhile, during the same period that Tsunade's medical expertise was becoming widely known, Danzo Shimura was carving out his own distinct, though far more ominous, reputation in the ninja world. Known as the darkness of the shinobi world, Danzo and his secretive organization, Root, began to emerge into the broader consciousness of the shinobi communities. Root, operating under Danzo's strict and shadowy leadership, was characterized by its unwavering commitment to the protection and advancement of Konoha, often employing methods that were ethically questionable or outright reprehensible. Danzo himself, possessing strength that could be classified as quasi-cage level, was feared not just for his combat capabilities but also for his sinister, strategic mind. His ability to plan several steps ahead, coupled with a willingness to sacrifice anything or anyone for what he perceived as the greater good of the village, made him a formidable and controversial figure. The actions of Danzo and Root during the war, ranging from assassination missions to espionage and even manipulation of political situations within and outside Konoha, solidified their reputation. While some viewed Danzo as a necessary evil, a protector operating in the shadows to ensure Konoha's survival, others saw him and his organization as a dangerous embodiment of the moral compromises that the shinobi system could engender. As Hikari continued his journey back to the main branch, he further contemplated the current hierarchy of strength within Konoha's most notable shinobi. He estimated Hiruzen Sarutobi's strength to be at the late cage level. Regarding the Sunin Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru, Hikari believed that, although they had not yet reached their peak, each possessed strength that could be classified as early cage level. Chapter 44, The Current Situation Inside the Konoha. A/N, a 5-year time skip is happening after this, before the next chapter starts. Also, if you read the story carefully, you would have known there would be no academy and missions, due to the MC status. Amid the notable figures, from Konoha's side, whose reputations were solidified during the war, Sakumo Hatake emerged as a formidable shinobi, earning the moniker White Fang due to his unparalleled skills in Kenjutsu. His unique fighting style and extraordinary feats on the battlefield made him a legend across the shinobi world. Hikari's evaluation of Sakumo's strength placed him on par with Hiruzen Sarutobi, both assessed as being at the late Kage level. However, Sakumo's reputation within Konoha didn't quite match up to his true capabilities. Hikari understood that this discrepancy was due to the Hokage's faction actively downplaying Sakumo's achievements. By controlling the narrative within the village and assigning him to less critical missions, they ensured Hiruzen remained the most celebrated figure, limiting Sakumo's recognition to his duel and defeat of just 2 elite jonin from Tsunagakuer, Sasori's parents, and Chiyo's son and daughter-in-law, quite below Sakumo's true capability. This strategic sidelining of Sakumo shed light on the lengths to which Hiruzen and his faction would go to maintain their hold on power, influence, and fame. Sakumo's tragic end, his suicide, which was previously a bewildering act, now made sense to Hikari. It was a typical illustration of the dark underbelly of village politics, where even the most talented shinobi could be sacrificed on the altar of power dynamics of seemingly positive and celebrated characters in Hikari's past life. However, this was the real world, not an idealistic fairy tale, that readers of the story from his past life were familiar with. Sakumo's independence and remarkable rise to power, relying solely on his skills and his clan's hidden techniques, made him a difficult figure for the Hokage's faction to assimilate. Unlike the Sunin or Minato Namikaze, who were nurtured within the folds of the Hokage's faction from their youth, Sakumo represented a formidable force that had emerged outside of their direct influence. Given that Sakumo Hotaki belonged to a generation younger than Hiruzen Sarutobi, he naturally emerged as a strong candidate for the position of the next Hokage after Hiruzen's tenure. However, Hikari recognized that Hiruzen's faction, driven by a desire to cling to power, would never entertain the idea of Sakumo assuming such a pivotal role. Their preference leaned towards Orochimaru, Hiruzen's most talented and favored disciple, for the next Hokage, even though Orochimaru was, in reality, not as strong as Sakumo. Orochimaru's perceived controllability, owing to his lesser strength and his close ties with Hiruzen's faction, made him a more appealing choice to them. Orochimaru, being directly under Hiruzen's guidance, was seen as someone who could be easily influenced and kept within the fold of their power structure. In contrast, Sakumo's independence and formidable capabilities posed a threat to their continued dominance. Hikari speculated that these political dynamics and the systematic undermining of Sakumo's contributions and potential ultimately contributed to the tragic course of events leading to Sakumo's demise. If the original story's timeline were to hold, Sakumo's suicide would occur a few years down the line, a direct fallout from the intense pressures and isolation imposed by the village's leadership and their relentless pursuit of power. Hikari speculated that it was likely members of Hiruzen's faction, including his 2 civilian advisors and Danzo, who initiated the damaging rumors about Sakumo abandoning a mission to save his comrades. This tactic was possibly employed when it became evident that Orochimaru's standing within the village couldn't compete with Sakumo's burgeoning reputation as a suitable candidate for Hokage. In Hikari's analysis, the notion that a shinobi of Sakumo's caliber would face universal condemnation for prioritizing the lives of fellow comrades over a mission didn't align with the intrinsic values of the shinobi world. Shinobi of Sakumo's strength and capabilities were exceedingly rare and highly valued across all villages, making the backlash against him for such a decision seem disproportionate and orchestrated. The immediate and widespread vilification of Sakumo for his actions seemed unlikely without a concerted effort to tarnish his reputation. However, Hikari also reasoned that while Hiruzen's faction intended to merely discredit Sakumo and sideline him from the Hokage succession, they hadn't foreseen the devastating personal impact their actions would have. Sakumo's suicide was an unforeseen consequence, one that likely took even his detractors by surprise. This tragic outcome not only robbed Konoha of one of its most formidable shinobi but also marked a turning point in the village's fortunes. Hikari firmly believed that a shinobi of Sakumo Hotaki's exceptional skill and insight would have been acutely aware of the machinations against him time. It seemed implausible to Hikari that Sakumo wouldn't have recognized the deliberate efforts to undermine his reputation and the orchestrated nature of the rumors that led to his ostracization. Therefore, Hikari surmised that Sakumo's decision to end his life was not merely an act of despair but also one of defiance and retribution against those who sought to discredit him. Feeling disillusioned and betrayed by the very village he had devoted his life to protecting, Sakumo's suicide could be interpreted as his final stand against the political scheming that sought to diminish him. In taking his own life, Sakumo not only removed himself from the toxic environment that had turned against him but also left Konoha significantly weaker on the eve of the potential next Shinobi World War. Upon realizing the full extent of Sakumo Hotaki's ordeal and its implications, Hikari began to strategize on how to leverage this situation to weaken the Hokage's faction and, in doing so, create more breathing room for the Hyuga clan to expand its influence within the village. He saw an opportunity not just for the clan but also for himself to gain political leverage from the fallout of any damage inflicted upon Hiruzen's faction. Knowing that his own parents had been close acquaintances of Sakumo, often undertaking missions together, in the past, and even serving under his command at the onset of the Second Shinobi World War, Hikari recognized a personal connection that could be utilized to his advantage. Their camaraderie and shared experiences provided a foundation upon which Hikari could build his plan. Hikari envisioned a scenario where, instead of succumbing to the pressures and taking his own life, Sakumo could be persuaded to take a stand that would simultaneously expose the machinations of the Hokage's faction and bolster the position of the Hyuga clan. Such a move would require careful planning and manipulation of the existing sentiments within the village, turning the tragedy of Sakumo's intended fate into a strategic advantage for those opposed to Hiruzen's faction. This ambitious plan, however, was not something that could be enacted immediately. Hikari was prepared to play the long game, laying the groundwork for his strategy to unfold over the years, and act when the opportunity arrives. However, unlike the rest of the main branch elder, Hikari perceived that still, despite the current challenges, the long-term outlook for Konoha, and specifically for those opposed to the Hokage's faction, wasn't nearly as bleak. Hikari recognized that even without directly leveraging Sakumo Hitaki as a weapon against the Hokage's faction, the faction's power was likely to wane over time due to various internal and external pressures. This decline was not solely dependent on any one individual's actions but was a broader trend influenced by several key factors and events within and outside of the village. He recognized that the village's strength, both in terms of its leadership and its notable shinobi, was on a decline, a trend that would inevitably continue based on the progression of events in the original story. This decline would inadvertently create openings for the Hyuga clan and others to gain political ground, if they were smart enough and listened to him at that time. That was. The aftermath of the Second Shinobi World War revealed vulnerabilities within Konoha's ranks. Tsunade, deeply affected by personal losses, especially after the death of her lover Dan Kato during the recent war, developed a phobia of blood that rendered her virtually useless on the battlefield. Jiraiya, having spent much of his time in Omegakure and focusing on deciphering suspicious Toad Immortal's prophecies, had little direct involvement with the village, choosing instead to establish a network of informants. Orochimaru's ambitions lead him increasingly to lean towards personal power and immortality, spurred by the death of his disciple Nawaka Senju, slightly before the Second Ninja World War. Leading him down a path of questionable ethics and detachment from the village's overall well-being, while doing questionable moves for his research that were potentially politically very risky. Moreover, both Hiruzen and Danzo were aging, with their physical prowess and, in Hiruzen's case, his strategic and intellectual acumen, showing signs of decline. The shift in Hiruzen's reputation from the god of shinobi to the professor underscored the trend of his personal strength declining, over the years, the best. After all, Danzo and Hiruzen would already be in their 40s during the Third Great Shinobi War, for example, certainly at least a level below their peak like today. Sakumo's passing further weakened Konoha's standing, signaling to other villages that Konoha was becoming increasingly vulnerable, a perception that would precipitate the Third Shinobi World War, during which Konoha resorted to even deploying newly graduated academy students to the front lines due to the lack of power and the trend of decline. Beyond the erosion of physical strength, Hiruzen's prolonged tenure in power was marred by increasing corruption and poor decision-making. Danzo's actions became more audacious, creating a political climate ripe for challenge. Hikari saw this period of turmoil and transition as an opportunity to strategically position the Hyuga clan and himself for greater influence within the village. The potential vacuum created by these developments underscored the critical role Minato Namikaze would play in shaping Konoha's future. Without his full rise, Konoha's standing in the ninja world could have faced severe repercussions, and questionable status in the future. Hikari understood that this tumultuous period represented a strategic opportunity to realign power structures within the village. By anticipating these shifts and positioning himself accordingly, Hikari aimed to navigate the Hyuga clan through the political landscape, exploiting weaknesses in the Hokage's faction to enhance the clan's stature and secure a more favorable position for himself and his allies. As Hikari pondered over the ascent of Minato Namikaze and the tales circulating within the Hyuga main branch about him, he couldn't help but let out a smirk, followed by a chuckle. Minato, still a genin but immensely famous within the village due to Hiruzen's faction's efforts to tout him as a civilian prodigy never seen before, was becoming emblematic of a new wave of shinobi. This generation, which blended Senju lineage with civilian blood, was gradually emerging from the academy, each batch seemingly stronger than the last, of which Minato was the strongest individually. Hikari thought deeply about Minato Namikaze's abilities. Mastering near-perfect Sage Mode wasn't something just anyone could do, it required unique body traits and lots of chakra, which ordinary people didn't have. Then, there's Minato's incredible feat of fighting the strongest tailed beast, Kurama, and Obito at the same time. He managed to defeat Obito, split Kurama's chakra, and seal it into Naruto and himself. This raised questions for Hikari: where did Minato get such vast chakra reserves to do all that, and to continuously use high-level, high-class jutsus during his battles in general? Moreover, the lineage of Ashura's reincarnations was historically entirely within the Senju clan alone, just as the Indra reincarnations were inside the Uchiha clan alone. The last known reincarnation of Ashura was Naruto. Since the Uzumaki clan is only distantly related to the Senju, Hikari speculated that it made more sense if Minato had a more direct connection to the Senju clan, hence Ashura. This would also mean Naruto had more Senju blood in him. It also aligned well with the fact that Senju started changing their surnames, marrying civilians like crazy, under the policy of Tobirama, leading to them dissipating in only 1 or 2 generations. Considering all of these points, Hikari was almost fully convinced Minato had some Senju DNA. Yet, what amused Hikari the most were the heroic tales and rumors of Minato rescuing Kushina Uzumaki, Konoha's new Jinchuriki, from Kumigakura's spies just recently. Considering the feats clearly accomplished by the Kumigakura shinobi, penetrating Konoha, capturing Kushina Uzumaki, the village's most important asset, and then nearly escaping with her, even exiting the village perimeters and entering the forest outside, successfully. It seemed then completely illogical that they could be so easily bested by one genin, fresh from the academy, even one as talented as Minato. This apparent contradiction suggested to Hyuga that, while these Kumigakura shinobi were skilled enough to infiltrate the village and execute their mission, they might not have been particularly formidable opponents. However, this then raised another, the most important question: if they were not especially strong, how were they able to carry out such a complex operation successfully in the first place? The answer likely lay in the manipulation of events from within Konoha itself. The ease with which Minato defeated these supposedly capable shinobi hinted at a setup that was orchestrated by Hiruzen and his faction. It was all a clear screenwriting, making of a movie. It seems probable that these Kumigakura operatives were allowed, perhaps even facilitated, to kidnap Kushina, creating an opportunity for Minato to play the hero saving a beauty in a carefully staged rescue. This scenario, seemingly lifted from the pages of a scripted drama, was likely engineered to enhance Minato's reputation as a hero within the village and further bind Kushina to the Hokage's faction by weaving a narrative of heroism and romantic destiny between the two, possibly even inspired by their relationship and indicate spying over them during the times they were together at the academy. By engineering such a situation, Hiruzen's faction achieved multiple objectives. Kushina, feeling indebted to Minato, would naturally grow closer to him, thereby ensuring that the Nine Tails Jinchuriki remained under the influence of the Hokage's faction Minato was part of, and the village in general. Similarly, Minato's new attachment to Kushina would subject him to indefinite political machinations of Konoha's leadership, given her politically sensitive status as a Jinchuriki. His all actions and decisions would be henceforth needed to align with the expectations and directives of Hokage and his circle if he didn't want to jeopardize his romantic relationship with Kushina due to her politically sensitive identity as the village's Nine Tails Jinchuriki. Hikari found the entire setup so absurdly overplayed that it brought him to laughter, marveling at the extent to which Hiruzen's faction would stoop to weave such a tale. It was, in his eyes, a testament to their desperation to maintain and expand their power, resorting to concocting a love story between children that doubled as a political maneuver. However, arriving at his home, Hikari shifted his focus from the complex web of village politics to the more immediate task at hand, the rest of his daily routines. Despite the intrigue and the long-term strategies he had begun to devise, he was aware that his direct involvement in village politics was still a few years away. His immediate priority was to strengthen himself physically and mentally, preparing for the day he would step into the political arena as part of his broader plans. This period of preparation was crucial. It was a time to build the foundation upon which his future rests. Chapter 45, The 5 Years Later and New Techniques. 5 years had passed since the Second Shinobi World War, and now 11-year-old Hikari Hyuga was slowly waking up in his elegant room still within the 7th Elder's estate. Hikari's mornings still always started with a dedication to training, a necessity he believed was crucial in this world. Yet, the nature of his training evolved over the years. Rising from his large bed, he moved through the room's wooden floor to reach the familiar courtyard, a space that had become a significant part of his daily life. Hikari had slowly become deeply connected to this world, his memories of his previous life on Earth fading into the background. The courtyard, with its perfect balance of beauty and tradition, was where he tirelessly worked on his skills, increasingly embracing his identity as a Hyuga and main branch member. Over time, Hikari's training sessions with Takumai came to an end. Hikari had grown significantly in strength and experience, reaching a point where Takumai had little more to offer. Furthermore, Takumai had already fully imparted the two fundamental, specialized Taigenjutsu techniques to Hikari, who had mastered them with remarkable proficiency. According to Takumai, teaching Hikari more advanced techniques from his lineage would hinder Hikari's growth as a shinobi. This advice came after Takumai learned of Hikari's unique ideas for further development. Takumai believed that for Hikari to truly flourish, he needed to leverage these innovative concepts and chart his course. Immediately after completing his morning chores, Hikari began his day with light stretches reminiscent of the gentle fist style. These movements were fluid and precise, serving as a warm-up for the more intricate techniques to come. With his Byakugan activated, he transitioned seamlessly into executing a series of gentle fist techniques, stances, and movements. Each motion was carried out with meticulous attention to detail, reflecting the depth of his training and dedication to the art. Despite these being fundamental skills, Hikari understood the importance of practicing them daily. To neglect these basics would be to allow the foundation of his skill set to weaken, something he could not afford. Thus, he moved through the stances and techniques with a disciplined focus, ensuring each was performed to perfection. This practice took place in his courtyard/garden, a tranquil and inspiring setting that had witnessed countless hours of dedication. The early morning air was cool and fresh, filled with the quiet sounds of nature waking. As Hikari moved, the sun began its ascent, slowly illuminating the garden with a warm, golden light. The gentle rays filtered through the leaves, casting a soft glow over the scene. Despite having mastered the foundational techniques of the gentle fist, including the recently fully mastered twin lion fists, rotation, and wind release, rotation, Hikari now faced the challenge of integrating his new personal unique jutsu ideas into his repertoire. The techniques he aspired to master were complex, requiring a deep understanding of both the Hyuga's traditional methods and the innovative application of wind release chakra. By creating a small, dense sphere of chakra that rotated at extremely high speed, encapsulated by wind release chakra, Hikari would be able to launch it towards a target or area, where upon impact and after some time, it would explode into a full-sized rotation. That move he dubbed the wind release, celestial rotation sphere, embodied a fusion of offense and defense, extending the Hyuga's close combat prowess to striking targets afar. Also, it could even act as a sudden shield against attacks or projectiles coming your way, stopping them somewhere at the distant midpoint. This made it especially useful in fights where staying away from the enemy was key. The technique held a distinct difference from the Raise Nan, which is known for its chakra rotating in multiple directions to create a sort of chaotic, centrifugal force, making it a much simpler technique in its essence. Moreover, when comparing his technique to the Rasen Shuriken, which compresses the Rasengan's multi-directional spin into a throwable form that explodes upon impact, Hikari's technique takes a different approach. It doesn't harness the chaotic spinning in multiple directions but focuses on the power of rotation in one direction. This nuanced difference meant that while his technique might not match the raw force found at the core of the Raise Nan or the destructive expanse of the Rasen Shuriken, it offered a strategic versatility fitting Hikari's combat style and chakra reserves. As Hikari practiced the motions in his courtyard, the depth of focus required for this technique was palpable. For now, he could only envision the technique's potential, practicing the motions and focusing his chakra in the hopes of one day bringing the wind release, celestial rotation sphere to fruition. Each movement was a step toward bridging the gap between concept and reality, requiring a seamless blend of chakra shape and nature transformations, precise chakra tenketsu point ejection mastery, chakra control, and the precision of the gentle fist's motor movements. Therefore, eyes closed, each morning he would stand still, focusing deeply, attempting to synchronize the flow of his chakra with the subtle currents of the morning breeze that swirled around him. Following this, Hikari faced the challenge of initiating a miniature rotation in his palm. This required not just mental focus but a physical command over his chakra, directing it to compress and spin in a highly concentrated form. Day by day, he practiced this motion, his palm outstretched, as he sought to coax the chakra into the beginnings of a sphere. Sometimes, a faint movement in the air around his hand was the only indication of progress, yet the sphere itself proved elusive, a constant reminder of the skill's demanding nature. In his heart, Hikari held onto the vision of what was to come, the launching of the sphere, guiding its path with wind chakra, and the moment of its explosive impact. These future successes were beacons in the distance, guiding his present efforts. Similarly, the second envision technique, the wind release, armor of the heavenly spin, posed its own set of challenges. This technique aimed to wrap the user in a continuous, protective layer of spinning wind chakra, reacting instinctively to threats. It was an ambitious blending of offense and defense, demanding not just mastery over chakra flow but an innate connection between the user's will and the chakra itself. As Hikari moved through his forms, he imagined the protective armor forming around him, feeling the hypothetical rush of wind as it spun in harmony with his movements. The concept of an armor that acted independently, yet in perfect unison with his intentions, was fascinating but daunting. Each step, each breath, brought him closer to understanding the subtle interplay of forces required to make this technique a reality. The initial step involved enveloping his body in wind release chakra, setting it into a gentle rotation. This rotation needed to be subtle, a mere whisper of movement that wouldn't distract him or drain his resources during combat. In the calm of the courtyard, Hikari attempted to cloak himself in a veil of wind chakra. The goal was to achieve a continuous, soft rotation that melded seamlessly with his body's natural chakra flow. He focused on maintaining a light, an almost imperceptible layer of spinning chakra, one that would not demand his constant attention yet remained ready to spring into action at a moment's notice. The next phase of the technique, synchronizing this rotation with his chakra pathway system, loomed ahead as a challenge he had yet to tackle. This synchronization would allow the armor to instinctively react to any disruption in chakra flow, such as that caused by an incoming attack. Hikari envisioned how the armor would detect an assault and respond by rapidly accelerating the rotation at the point of impact, creating a barrier capable of deflecting or neutralizing the threat. However, the overarching reason Hikari delved deeply into developing those two new unique techniques was his discovery concerning chakra potency during his extensive research. Chakra potency referred to the amount of chakra one could utilize in a brief period. It was essentially about how much of one's chakra reserves could be employed for a single jutsu, akin to measuring how fast you could run rather than how long. This concept stood in contrast to chakra reserves, which dealt with the total amount of chakra available within an individual's body for performing jutsu. Chakra reserves were about endurance, akin to how long you could run before you passed out, not how intensively you could exert yourself at any given moment. That's precisely why the Uchiha clan could unleash such potent fire release techniques despite not having as large chakra pools as the Senju. They could utilize more of their chakra for a single jutsu than their overall reserves might suggest, enabling them, at times, to match the Senju in short-term confrontations. This characteristic was demonstrated repeatedly by various members of the Uchiha clan in the original series. Genetically, the Uchiha were predisposed to have a higher chakra potency, which is the capability to use their chakra more effectively in a concentrated manner, whereas clans like the Senju and Uzumaki were known for their larger chakra reserves, or the overall amount of chakra they could draw upon. Hikari quickly recognized that his own Hyuga clan represented the other side of this dichotomy, stemming from Hamura Otsutsuki, just as the Uchiha descended from Hago Romo Otsutsuki. This meant that the Hyuga also possessed a naturally higher chakra potency rather than extensive chakra reserves. Understanding this, Hikari saw the value in incorporating elemental chakra releases into his repertoire. Such techniques would allow him to expend a large amount of chakra in the short term when necessary, leveraging his clan's innate chakra potency to its fullest potential. This realization opened up new possibilities for Hikari's development, guiding him toward strategies that aligned with his clan's unique strengths. This understanding of chakra potency versus chakra reserves explained why, at his peak performance, Hikari's strongest wind release, rotation attacks could achieve a devastatingly wide range of motion extending over 10 meters in radius already and even more in the future. His innate ability to concentrate a significant amount of chakra into a single technique allowed him to amplify the power and scope of his attacks beyond the average limitations of his chakra pool. Then returning to the rationale behind Hikari's decision to incorporate various wind release moves into his arsenal next stemmed from the logistical challenges of maximizing his chakra potency through gentle fist taijutsu alone. In the heat of battle, where rapid responses were crucial, trying to manually eject such large chunks of his available chakra through gentle fist taijutsu alone would be impractical, if not impossible. Wind release, on the other hand, offered a more efficient and effective way to leverage his peak chakra potency. It allowed for a faster way to convert his chakra potency into sheer power that the wind release still provided faster as it used much less created energy, in general, to produce the similarly devastating results on the battlefield as his ordinary chakra ejections in higher quantities. Chapter 46, Beginning of Hikari's Rise to the Limelight. After wrapping up his entire morning training session, which ended with a rigorous set of physical exercises designed to improve his strength, speed, and endurance among others, Hikari stepped outside the residence. Hikari then made his way to the Patriarch's residence for another lunch, a sense of anticipation stirring within him. For reasons he couldn't quite articulate, he felt that this visit would be significant. Adorned in traditional Hyuga-style robes, their dark blue hue mirroring the color of his hair, he moved with a sense of purpose. At 11 years old, his youthful face had begun to shed its childlike roundness, taking on sharper, more defined features. His bright Hyuga eyes, vibrant and full of determination, hinted at the handsome young man he would become. His rigorous training regimen and nutrition had not only honed his skills but also shaped his physical appearance. Standing tall among his peers, Hikari's frame and height were noticeably more developed for someone his age. This physical maturity, combined with the elegant traditional robes he wore, lent him an air of dignity and promise beyond his years. Over the years, not only had Hikari's physical stature improved, but the internal structure of his chakra pathways had also undergone significant development. His elastic-like chakra vessels had become more robust, enhancing his capacity to store and manage greater amounts of chakra. This physiological evolution contributed to a notable increase in his base stats, rendering him considerably stronger in physical terms than he was 5 years prior. In the shinobi world, while every individual possesses circulating chakra naturally, the ability to generate additional chakra for jutsu involves harnessing a mix of spiritual and physical energies. Relying solely on the chakra already present within the body is risky, depleting one's chakra reserves completely can lead to death. However, the process of continuously generating new chakra can gradually expand the chakra vessels, allowing for increased storage capacity. This expansion acts as a foundation for the body, enhancing its overall strength through the constant flow of energy within the chakra coils. As a result, even the base physical attributes, such as speed and power, could see substantial improvements. That was an underlying principle that explained how civilians, with dedicated training and effort, could ascend to the ranks of Chunin and even Jonin if they developed some special jutsu on their own. By consistently generating and refining new chakra, they effectively exercise their chakra pathways, akin to strengthening a muscle. Over time, this practice leads to an expanded capacity for chakra storage, which, in turn, elevates their base physical capabilities. Consequently, these enhanced individuals become valuable assets to their respective ninja villages, capable of serving in various capacities, from frontline combat to support roles, effectively acting as enhanced humans cannon fodder in the expansive and dangerous world of shinobi. A while later, after arriving there and just nodding toward the guards, Hikari was immediately let in, as if he were a usual guest there. Soon, he found himself in the main living room, where the Patriarch, Hayashi, and Hisashi, were already present. "Greetings, Patriarch-sama, Hayashi-san, Hisashi-senpai." Over time, he had grown more comfortable with them and now addressed them in a way that showed both respect and familiarity. They all called him Hikari-kun in return, a sign of their affection and recognition of his place in the clan. Then, Hikari sat down to eat, moving in a way that showed he was used to these gatherings. The meal was traditional, with dishes that they all enjoyed, and the atmosphere was formal yet comfortable. As they started eating, their conversation touched on various topics, including what was happening in the clan and the village, showing how much Hikari was now a part of these important discussions. As lunch progressed, the conversation took a more serious turn when they began discussing recent unsettling rumors about Danzo's actions, brought by the Patriarch himself. It was proven that Danzo had started to forcibly recruit young members from the Aberme and Inuzuka clans, two of their closest allies within the village. This was happening under what seemed to be a silent approval from the entire Hokage's faction. Danzo had already beforehand managed to recruit some members from the Nara, Yamanaka, and Akimichi clans. Hikari, absorbing the gravity of the situation, responded, "Those kinds of moves spell trouble." The room fell into a thoughtful silence as they considered the implications. He then continued, drawing connections to their own situation, "These actions are definitely also aimed at us, the Hyuga clan. We're likely to be the next ones pressured into sending our members into the route." With the Uchiha and route already openly at odds, involving numerous altercations between their police force and route operatives, it's clear we may find ourselves in a difficult position. Hikari's analysis deepened as he considered the broader implications. Danzo has already crossed the Uchiha clan off for elimination, he doesn't hope to recruit them. But, he would probably still try to recruit someone from our clan. We've always been flexible to the Hokage's faction, and our Byakugan would be quite useful for Danzo's organization. The patriarch, then, after a moment of heavy silence, turned his gaze towards Hikari. With a deep sigh that seemed to carry the weight of the clan's future, he asked. Then are you ready, Hikari-kun? Are you ready to finally step into the limelight and accept your destined role and responsibility for the clan? The sudden question wasn't just a query, it was a call to action. It came at a moment when the patriarch recognized that the confrontation with the Hokage's faction could no longer be avoided. The situation had escalated, crossing a critical threshold. For years, the Hyuga clan had maintained a posture of submission towards the Hokage's faction, a strategic move designed to ensure Hikari could grow and reach his potential safely. This strategy was part of a larger plan, envisioning Hikari as a central figure in the clan's future strength and autonomy. However, Danzo's recent actions, especially his intentions to recruit Hyuga members into Root, in the near time represented a blatant violation of every possible red line for them. The patriarch and the others could only imagine the horrors that awaited any clansman sent to root unethical experiments, the imposition of Danzo's own version of cursed seals, or even attempts to break through the Hyuga's own cursed seal. Further concessions to the Hokage's faction, and by extension to Danzo, were out of the question. The stakes were too high, and the clan's integrity and autonomy were on the line. In asking Hikari if he was ready to step forward, the patriarch was seeking to gauge not just Hikari's readiness but his resolve, strength, and willingness to take on a central role in the clan's response to these external pressures. It was a pivotal moment for Hikari, a transition from the protective shadows of training and development into the forefront of clan leadership and resistance against those who sought to undermine or control them. This wasn't merely a question of readiness for battle, it was about readiness to lead, to make difficult decisions, and to represent the Hyuga clan's interests in increasingly complex political and martial landscapes. For Hikari, the patriarch's question signified the end of one chapter of his life and the beginning of another, far more challenging and crucial for the future of his clan. Hikari met the patriarch's gaze with a resolute expression, his bright Hyuga eyes reflecting a depth of determination. Yes, I'm ready, Patriarch-sama, he replied confidently. In his voice, there was an undeniable strength and a readiness to embrace the responsibilities that lay ahead. Hikari understood the gravity of the moment and what was being asked of him. He recognized that his journey within the safety of the clan's walls had reached a turning point. I feel like I've learned all that I can within the confines of our home. Staying in this comfort zone, protected by the clan, won't allow me to grow further. Hikari continued, his words resonating with a sense of maturity and insight. It's time for me to step out, to use what I've learned, and to repay the clan for all the training and resources they've invested in me. Patriarch's response carried a tone of approval, yet it was underscored by the gravity of the challenges that lay ahead. I understand, Hikari-kun. The Hyuga clan is indeed fortunate to have nurtured someone of your caliber. However, I must also personally gauge the extent of your strength then, to ensure you are truly ready to assume a leading role within our clan. Prepare yourself mentally for now, for this will be unlike any of our previous sparring sessions. We will both need to exert our full strength, he replied, his gaze serious. However, I also want to see how you have grown in terms of insight during this time and if you are completely ready for that step. So, what do you propose we do next about this? The patriarch continued, his last question hanging in the air like a challenge, clearly evaluating Hikari's readiness not just in strength but in wisdom and leadership as well. So, it is finally this time? It seems that everything I did during the last 5 years in terms of training and commercial involvement didn't go unnoticed. It seems that the patriarch is truly considering lifting all bans on me, and allowing me to become the true third elder earlier. Hikari momentarily thought, his blood boiling with excitement and a thirst for power. The prospect of becoming the third elder officially a whole year earlier than initially planned, and having all restrictions completely lifted was exhilarating. This change would be an opportunity to accelerate many of his plans, preparing more effectively for the tumultuous times that lay ahead for the village and the wider world. Every second counted, and with the full authority and resources that came with the position of third elder, Hikari could make significant strides in increasing the probability of success. Hikari took a moment to gather his thoughts as he understood the importance of the question. To address the immediate threat from Danzo and ensure the safety of our clan members, we should first strengthen our internal security and surveillance to guard against any attempts at coercion or abduction. Additionally, we should open discreet channels of communication with other clans who share our concerns, potentially forming alliances that could offer mutual support against common threats, Hikari proposed, his voice steady and confident. In terms of our next steps, Hikari continued, pausing for a moment to ensure his ideas were clearly articulated, I suggest we not only reinforce and elevate our alliances with the Aberame and Inuzuka clans to a new level but also initiate new partnerships with smaller shinobi families. This would include clans like the Hotaki, Gecko, Ui, Sumi, and others, ranked in order of their strength. These clans have faced significant challenges from the Hokage's faction influence in both the political and commercial spheres, not to mention the aggressive recruitment efforts and other pressures from Danzo's root organization, he continued. He took a breath, his thoughts well organized and his demeanor calm yet assertive. It's crucial, however, that we, the Hyuga clan, take a leadership role in this emerging alliance. Our strength is unmatched, and I believe we possess a superior blend of strategic insight and intellectual resources. By leading, we can ensure a united front that is both effective and cohesive in resisting the encroachments we all face or are about to face, Hikari finished. The patriarch nodded openly in approval and satisfaction at Hikari's suggestions. It was true that similar ideas had been floated in the Elders' Council before. But they had always come from elders who were decades older, seasoned by years of experience and deep involvement in the clan's politics. The remarkable thing about Hikari's proposal was that he, at merely 11 years old and without prior knowledge of those discussions, had independently arrived at a similar conclusion. Chapter 47, The New Alliance Coordinator of the Clan. In Hikari's mind, forming alliances with those clans in the direct line of fire from the Hokage's faction was not just strategic, it seemed like common sense. Unlike the Yamanaka, Akimichi, and Nara clans, which had been subdued into compliance and assimilated by being given some status inside the Hokage's faction itself, these smaller clans were actively being targeted by them for neutralization and extinction, in various forms, making them natural allies to someone like the Hyuga clan currently. Despite their numbers being fewer and their influence not as extensive, due in large part to the Hokage's faction's long-standing practice of talent poaching since the village's founding, these clans retained significant value, at least at the present date. They possessed unique hidden techniques that not only set them apart from ordinary civilians but also provided them with capabilities far beyond the average shinobi's reach. For example, the Hotaki clan was renowned for its hidden kenjutsu techniques, which were rumored to rival even those found in the Land of Iron, a testament to their skill and effectiveness in battle. The Gecko clan, though less known, had its own formidable kenjutsu that had been passed down through generations. The Ui clan's mastery of genjutsu offered strategic advantages that could shift the tide of any encounter, while the Sumi clan's unique yang releasing techniques presented innovative and unpredictable ways to engage in combat. Moreover, beyond the clans mentioned, there were others not highlighted in the original series, yet they played a significant role within the village's total available Jonin populace. Aware of the eventual fate of these clans from his knowledge of the original series timeline, Hikari understood the gravity of the situation they faced. He knew that, in the future, these diverse and skilled clans would become neutralized by Konoha, their unique identities diluted to the point where they were barely distinguishable from Konoha's civilians. This assimilation into the Hokage's faction, particularly through the indoctrination of younger generations by the Ninja Academy, signaled a loss of autonomy. Also, the older generation, those who still held a deep respect for their clan's independence and traditions, would slowly pass away, leaving behind a legacy at risk of being forgotten. Hikari also thought that there might have been considerable foul play involved, actions taken to deliberately undermine these clans' autonomy, and overall numbers, and erode their influence within the village. In the end, Hikari surmised that their hidden techniques were also stolen and leaked over time. As the older generation died of natural causes or some suspicious circumstances, younger generations were absorbed into Konoha's broader shinobi force, including the Anbu and particularly Danzo's root. The cohesive, collective clan mechanisms and autonomy that had sustained these clans for centuries were dismantled, all under the ideology of unitary Konoha, the will of fire, the equality of all citizens, which was Tobirama's main political ideology, and Hiruzen's faction's various power-seeking ambitions. However, Hikari wasn't finished. He ventured further, introducing an idea that took everyone at the table by surprise. However, there's another potential ally, one even more significant than those smaller clans, the Uchiha clan. Targeted not because of their weakness like those smaller clans were, by instead being targeted due to fear of their power and potential. As the main target of the Hokage's faction, their commercial interests have been heavily compromised already by various elements within the Hokage's faction, and the power of their police force is being steadily undermined by the Anbu. In my view, forming an equal partnership with the Uchiha could be pivotal, he proposed, laying out a strategic vision. As the conversation unfolded, Hayashi and Hisashi listened intently, their expressions a mix of contemplation and intrigue. Hikari's presence and influence over the last few years had notably shifted their perspectives and aspirations for the clan. Hayashi, traditionally a figure of stoic leadership and measured ambition, found his visions for the Hyuga's future expanding in response to Hikari's insights and proposals. There was a newfound spark of ambition in his demeanor, inspired by the potential he saw in Hikari as a catalyst for the clan's evolution. Hikari's bold strategy of forming alliances, particularly the surprising suggestion to partner with the Uchiha, resonated with Hayashi. It represented a departure from the more conservative strategies of the past, aligning with his growing desire to secure a more prominent and autonomous position for the Hyuga within Konoha. Hikari's ambition and strategic acumen were infectious, prompting Hayashi to consider possibilities he might have dismissed before. Hisashi, on the other hand, had undergone a transformation on his own. Historically, his views had been shaped by the complexities of life in the branch house, marked by a mix of loyalty and underlying resentment towards the main house. However, witnessing Hikari's dedication to the clan as a whole, alongside his efforts to bridge gaps and envision a united future, alongside his good treatment of him, had softened Hisashi's outlook. He found himself more positive about the clan's direction and the potential for genuine unity between the main and branch houses. Hikari's proposals for external alliances highlighted a path to strengthening the clan from within, fostering a sense of collective purpose that transcended internal divisions. This shift in perspective was significant, as Hisashi began to see the clan's future not just through the lens of house divisions but as a cohesive entity with shared goals and threats. Hikari-kun, your suggestions are indeed insightful and hold great promise for the future of our clan. However, implementing them, particularly when considering individuals of Sakumo Hataki's stature and the entirety of the Uchiha clan, presents its challenges. The Uchiha, as you're aware, have always maintained a certain pride and autonomy that could make negotiations complex, to put it mildest way possible, the Patriarch analyzed thoughtfully. Patriarch-sama, I believe that there's no need for concern, Hikari assured with a calm confidence that belied his years. Over the past few years, I've taken the initiative to foster a closer relationship with Sakumo Hataki. As you're aware from my reports, I've approached him as a junior, leveraging the existing ties between him and my late parents. My goal has been to understand him better, his personality, his values, and his perspective on the village's dynamics. During our interactions, I've subtly introduced concepts and ideas that align with our vision, gauging his receptiveness. Sakumo-san, given his remarkable abilities and his standing as a likely candidate for the next Hokage, has been under significant scrutiny and pressure from the Hokage's faction over the years. In essence, Hikari concluded, now with the right effort and timing from our clan, most optimally done by me, especially in response to the newfound rising aggressive moves by the Hokage's faction, I believe we can count on Sakumo Hataki and by extension, the Hataki clan as valuable allies, Hikari replied with a confident tone, while inwardly musing. Hikari's efforts to forge a connection with Sakumo Hataki weren't impulsive but part of a well-considered strategy, one that had received the nod of approval from the clan's higher echelons. This initiative, which he had proposed and undertaken a few years back, involved visiting Sakumo as a junior and the son of acquaintances. Upon his return, Hikari faithfully reported his findings and efforts, which significantly bolstered his standing within the Elder Council. This endeavor not only showcased Hikari's diplomatic skills and strategic thinking but also highlighted the level of trust and responsibility the clan had started to place in him. Unlike before, when his movements might have been more restricted, the clan now allowed him to leave the compound freely for such missions. Although these permissions came with the provision of heavy protection units, it was clear this was not just about ensuring his safety. And as for the Uchiha clan, Hikari continued at this time, thoughtfully weighing his next words, it's imperative that we at least attempt to initiate communication and propose an alliance. Securing their cooperation could significantly bolster our position. And, should they choose not to align with us, it didn't cost us anything to try at least. Then all the responsibility for these endeavors will rest with you, Hikari-kun, the Patriarch declared, a slight smile gracing his features, signaling a blend of approval and anticipation. Should you also demonstrate the requisite personal strength in our forthcoming duel, I will also advocate for your advancement to the position of the third elder at the earliest opportunity as I promised. However, also, I intend to entrust you, and the third lineage that will be under your care, with a new and important administrative role within our clan, during that time as well, if the proposal gets accepted that is. You should serve as our clan's new alliance coordinator, spearheading a new division under the control of your lineage. This role will entail the nurturing and fortification of our alliances with other prominent clans and groups within Konoha, making sure we all support each other and cooperate well in the future, he finished, laying out a significant path forward for him. Hikari felt a surge of surprise at the Patriarch's announcement. This role, usually reserved for those of the Patriarch's lineage itself, was now being handed to him. The Patriarch finally trusts me completely now, after everything I've done to show my loyalty to the clan over the years. It's all starting to pay off, Hikari thought to himself, feeling elated and optimistic. Hikari responded to the Patriarch's words with heartfelt sincerity, as if fully embracing the trust and responsibility placed upon him. I accept, and I'm ready to do what's necessary for our clan, he said, his commitment unwavering. Shortly thereafter, they all rose from the table, the weight of the conversation lingering in the air as they made their way outside. The specialized training area within the Patriarch's estate awaited them, a vast space designed to accommodate a duel of significant intensity. This was no ordinary sparring ground but one equipped to handle the most powerful techniques of the Hyuga clan. The training area was meticulously designed to resemble natural terrain, complete with some artificial hills, valleys, and a variety of other features that added layers of complexity to any combat scenario. Rocks and trees were strategically placed throughout the area, offering both obstacles and cover. The varying elevation provided by the artificial hills tested agility and strategic positioning, demanding a higher level of awareness and control. As Hikari stood in the expansive, intricately designed personal training area, he couldn't help but feel a renewed sense of surprise at the wealth and scale of the Hyuga clan's resources. Chapter 48, The Serious Battle Against the Patriarch. Be careful, Hikari-kun, came the encouraging words, filled with a hint of caution. I will give it my all, Patriarch-sama, Hikari responded with unwavering determination. After exchanging brief martial greetings, a sign of respect and readiness, the duel began under the attentive gaze of Hayashi and Hisashi. The two combatants activated their Byakugan, marking the commencement of a duel that was as much about skill as it was about generational legacy. A venerable, grey-haired elder pitted against a promising youth of merely 11 years. Initially, their movements were measured, a dance of gentle fist taijutsu that saw them weaving and parrying, their hands in constant motion. Hikari's more advanced slow-motion like Byakugan's higher processing speed parried with Patriarch's more than half a century of experience in these arts. This early phase of the duel was about understanding, an exchange where both sought to gauge the other's strategy and response. They aimed for each other's hands, targeting the tenketsu points with precision, a testament to their mastery of the Hyuga's fighting style. Suddenly, during their exchange, the Patriarch's expression shifted to a knowing smile. The fifth elder's techniques, Hikari-kun? Such moves won't find success against me, he remarked, a note of amusement in his voice. It was a pivotal moment. As their hands connected, Hikari attempted to inject a surge of yin-release chakra into the Patriarch's hand chakra pathway system to then discreetly travel and touch upon his central nervous system as well. Yet, the Patriarch, anticipating such maneuvers, effortlessly countered, pushing the yin-release chakra back through their point of contact, sending it coursing back into Hikari's own hand chakra vessels. This deft counter highlighted the depth of his understanding. Realizing Hikari's astonishment at the swift counter, the Patriarch decided to share a piece of wisdom that Hikari hadn't been privy to before. You seem surprised, Hikari-kun. Let me share something with you then. Over the years, my Byakugan has developed a unique capability. It's not just the clarity of vision or the ability to see chakra pathways, but a deeper, more refined understanding of chakra as energy itself too, meaning your cumulative chakra signature. This special trait allows me to discern and identify the unique chakra patterns of individuals, and even the specific nature of the chakra release they are manipulating, creating, and from which point of their body are they doing it. Even guessing the technique someone is preparing to use isn't that hard for me to guess way earlier, he explained, his tone reflecting both pride and a willingness to educate. He further elaborated, this means, while I may not have the ability to see emotions through chakra as some from the Uzumaki clan could, I can very precisely detect the specific types of chakra you're working with, such as your attempt to utilize yin release against me just now. It's an innate gift paired with decades of experience of observing various patterns, now allowing me to see beyond the surface to the subtleties within a person's chakra system. Hikari nodded, the surprise at the Patriarch's unique Byakugan ability lingering within him, but he quickly refocused as the duel escalated. At a signal from the Patriarch, they both adopted a stance indicative of a move to more advanced techniques. With palms extended, they simultaneously unleashed the vacuum palm technique, a signature move within the Hyuga arsenal designed to strike an opponent from a distance with concentrated chakra. Hikari, confident in his wind-release enhanced vacuum palms, expected his attack to have the upper hand. However, To his astonishment, the Patriarch's seemingly weaker vacuum palms not only met his attack head-on but began to overpower it. The realization of impending possible impact triggered Hikari to instinctively initiate a rotation, creating a swirling shield of chakra around him to deflect the incoming attack. Inwardly, Hikari marveled, could it be that he already anticipated and pinpointed weaknesses in my attack before it was fully launched? And even manipulated his vacuum palms to exploit the most vulnerable points of mine in mid-air? This level of experience and precision is astounding. It also suggests his Byakugan's power is far beyond the ordinary. As their vacuum palms collided, the force of the confrontation sent ripples through the air, disturbing the tranquility of the training ground. The nearby trees shook, some of the smaller vegetation getting uprooted while dust and debris were thrown into the air, creating a haze around the dueling area. The terrain itself bore witness to the intensity of their battle, with the ground near their point of impact cratering slightly under the pressure, leaving a tangible mark of their clash. As Hikari's rotation came to a halt, leaving the ground beneath them cratered from the force, the Patriarch had already maneuvered behind him, ready to exploit what seemed like a moment of vulnerability. However, just as he prepared to deliver a strike from behind, he found himself caught off guard by a sudden, rapid assault. From the back of Hikari's position, transparent, high-speed projectile beams, akin to lasers, shot out. This innovative technique, a fusion of Hikari's ordinary Hyuga Tenketsu chakra ejection method and wind release, created a barrier of swift, cutting blasts of energy. While the Patriarch had anticipated the incorporation of wind release with his unique vision, the sheer velocity of the attack was beyond his expectations. This was his first encounter with such a technique at this speed, leading him to momentarily reassess his strategy and abandon his plan to attack from that angle, thus missing a potentially decisive opportunity. Adapting swiftly to the unexpected turn of events, the Patriarch chose a direct approach for his next attack, channeling his chakra into the formidable twin lion fists, a technique renowned for its destructive potential. This head-on assault was met with equal determination by Hikari, who, utilizing his unique Byakugan ability that allowed him to perceive movements in what seemed like slow motion, quickly composed himself and mirrored the Patriarch's stance, his own huge, blue twin lion fists manifesting to meet the challenge. As they clashed, an intense battle of attrition ensued, with each trying to overpower the other by absorbing chakra and aiming to mass seal the Tenketsu points, a tactic that could decisively tip the scales in this closely matched duel. The Patriarch leveraged his advanced vision, which allowed him to anticipate movements and counter them effectively, relying on his deep understanding of the chakra's flow and patterns. In contrast, Hikari's reliance on his enhanced slow-motion perception gave him the ability to process and react to the Patriarch's moves with astonishing precision and speed. Amidst this intense exchange, the Patriarch found a moment to express his admiration for Hikari's skillful application of the twin lion fists, a technique he himself had taught the young shinobi. "Hikari-kun, your mastery of the twin lion fists, especially so early on, is commendable. And the way you've harnessed your Byakugan's capabilities in battle is truly impressive," he praised, acknowledging not just the technique's execution but the strategic depth with which Hikari had integrated it into his combat style. However, just then the Patriarch's experienced eyes detected a significant shift in Hikari's chakra. The young Hyuga was amassing a considerable amount of chakra, converting it into wind release for what promised to be a formidable attack. Recognizing the imminent threat from Hikari's small body, and deciding to try and stop it on time, the Patriarch suddenly changed his face and made a decisive move to counter it, by stealing and absorbing the majority of the boy's chakra, by invoking his and his lineage's most potent technique, 8 trigrams, Celestial Dragon Seal. Channeling a massive surge of chakra throughout his body, the Patriarch focused his energy on his palms. The air around them seemed to tremble with the gathering power of blue and white chakra energies. In a breathtaking display, an enormous serpentine dragon, composed of dense, white chakra, took form, its presence dominating the battlefield with an aura of sheer might and precision. With a swift motion, the Patriarch unleashed the dragon towards Hikari. Despite the present short distance between them, the dragon closed the gap in mere moments, its form undulating with lifelike agility as it bore down on its target in a flash of bright, white, light. The dragon, a manifestation of the Patriarch's will, aimed to bite into Hikari, initiating a rapid chakra absorption effect upon contact. As the celestial dragon enveloped Hikari, its fangs sought to pierce his chakra network, aiming to seal his Tenketsu points and disrupt his ability to muster chakra for jutsu. The immediate effect was a powerful absorption of Hikari's amassed chakra, siphoning it away at an alarming rate and funneling it back to the Patriarch. This not only halted Hikari's preparation for his next move but also revitalized the Patriarch, bolstering his chakra reserves for the continuation of their duel. This scene, set against the backdrop of the specialized training area, now bore the marks of their epic confrontation. The terrain around them, already scarred from their previous exchanges, vibrated with the energy of the Patriarch's technique. The ground beneath Hikari's feet cratered further under the force of the Chakra Dragon's impact, a physical testament to the technique's power. Confronted with the overwhelming force of the devastating attack, Hikari was pushed to his limits. The realization hit him with clarity amidst the battle's chaos, so this is the pinnacle of the Hyuga clan's techniques. I'm completely immobilized. The majority of my upper body's tenketsu points are sealed, and my chakra is being drained at an alarming rate. I need to act, or I'm defeated. This moment of crisis ignited a spark within Hikari, driving him to tap into the depths of his resilience. With no option left and the pressure mounting, Hikari resorted to the only viable counterattack he had left. Relying on the exceptional chakra control skills honed over 8 years of diligent practice, which also allowed him to eject chakra from any part of his body, Hikari focused his efforts on his lower body. Drawing upon every ounce of chakra he could muster, he initiated a desperate bid for freedom. Utilizing the natural wind currents swirling around the battleground, with his deliberate chakra-shaped transformation manipulations, Hikari amplified the power of his technique without directly strengthening it with his wind-release chakra too, as there was no time. From his feet, a large blue and sharp rotation burst forth, expanding rapidly to form a protective barrier with a 5-meter radius. This fierce whirlwind of chakra and wind clashed with the celestial dragon, dispelling it with force and creating a shockwave that rippled through the training grounds. The intensity of Hikari's counter forced the Patriarch to leap away, a tactical retreat to evade the unexpected retaliation. The ground where Hikari stood bore the marks of his desperate struggle, with the terrain around him visibly altered by the collision of their formidable techniques. Vegetation was shredded, and dust was thrown into the air, creating a hazy veil that momentarily obscured the view. Chapter 49, The Draw Against the Hyuga Patriarch. Seizing this brief window of opportunity created by his daring counterattack, Hikari was acutely aware that the Patriarch had momentarily gained the upper hand by absorbing a substantial portion of his entire upper body's freely circulating chakra. In a critical bid to level the playing field again quickly and seize this breathing space, Hikari tapped into his deep knowledge of medical ninjutsu, gentle fist-like chakra control fundamentals, and the precise internal vision provided by his Byakugan and training of it. With remarkable speed and finesse, he began the intricate process of gently unsealing the tenketsu points across his upper body from the inside. This required an exceptional level of chakra control and an intimate understanding of the body's chakra vessels and coils, skills Hikari had honed over years of dedicated practice. Simultaneously, as his hands came back into action, Hikari employed yang release to infuse those same inner chakra vessels with renewed vigor, to heal them and boost their short-term chakra energy intake at the same time. This not only hastened their ability to replenish chakra from his cells but also revitalized his ability to generate and manipulate it effectively next. The use of yang release in this manner was a strategic move, aimed at restoring his combat capabilities as swiftly as possible under the circumstances. This dual approach, unsealing his tenketsu points while rejuvenating his chakra reserves, underscored Hikari's innovative spirit and his mastery over a wide range of shinobi arts. The effectiveness of Hikari's tactics was evident in the renewed energy that coursed through him, allowing him to prepare for the next phase of the duel. As the dust from their intense clash began to settle, the Patriarch, with his Byakugan fully activated, widened his eyes in astonishment at the sight before him. Witnessing Hikari's adept manipulation of his chakra to gently unseal his tenketsu points from within his chakra pathway system itself, along with his innovative use of yang release to revitalize those same pathways, left the elder deeply impressed. It was an approach and a form of resilience he had never seen before, prompting him to voice his admiration. Hikari-kun, your abilities, and the extensive arsenal you possess are both truly remarkable. You have reached the peak among Hyuga in terms of ingenuity, the Patriarch exclaimed. This is beyond anything I've expected. To think you'd recover so adeptly after such a huge setback. It's clear you possess a deep mastery and innovative mind that sets you apart. His compliments were not just words of praise but an acknowledgement of Hikari's exceptional talent, ingenuity, and spirit. Even with his wisdom, he was taken aback. The Patriarch had indeed believed the duel was nearing its conclusion after successfully stealing a significant amount of Hikari's chakra and sealing so many of his tenketsu points. He had truly not anticipated such a swift and resourceful recovery, showcasing Hikari's unwavering determination and his mastery over his abilities. The Patriarch then realized that even in his old age, there were still many things he hadn't seen that some Hyuga could do. There is no reason to continue this duel then, we are probably evenly matched already." With those words, the patriarch suddenly deactivated his Byakugan, signaling the end of their intense exchange. His fighting stance relaxed as he approached Hikari, a warm smile spreading across his face. He recognized that the purpose of their confrontation was not to determine a victor but to gauge Hikari's readiness to assume greater responsibilities within the clan. Hikari's display of resilience, innovation, and mastery over his techniques had evidently surpassed the patriarch's expectations, proving that he was more than prepared for the challenges that lay ahead. Meanwhile, Hikari couldn't help but reassess the patriarch's abilities as soon as they concluded their duel, a thoughtful analysis running through his mind. The patriarch truly operates at the elite Jonin level, much like myself, despite nearing his 70s. It's evident that his advanced Byakugan vision and wealth of experience compensate for any decline in physical prowess he may have faced with age. Yet, my approach to engaging him with yin release, at that time, was a misstep, due to the lack of information about his Byakugan, he pondered, his thoughts methodical and analytical. Hikari realized that a more effective strategy might have been to leverage his unique Juinjutsu and Gentle Fist Tenketsu sealing combination. Meaning, that using literal Juinjutsu markings to seal the opponent's Tenketsu points with them, as well, afterward, not just pushing and pressing it out with his Gentle Fist. It involved doing it both, instead of creating a much harder set of problems for the target to deal with. Unlike his previous attempts, which heavily relied on direct chakra manipulation, these techniques, rooted in intricate symbols, presented a different challenge, one probably invisible to the patriarch's Byakugan direct chakra energy vision niche in his opinion. Such an approach might have taken the patriarch by surprise, offering me a tactical advantage previously unexplored. Then who knows how different it might have ended. He concluded internally, his mind already running through possible scenarios and outcomes. The technique Hikari contemplated employing against the patriarch was the culmination of his extensive research and mastery in Fuinjutsu. After bringing his knowledge and skills in this complex field to what he deemed an adequate level, Hikari didn't stop there. Leveraging the fundamental principles, symbols, and formulas he had mastered, he ventured into the intricate world of Juinjutsu. It was here that a spark of creativity led him to develop and learn such a groundbreaking idea of fusing the Juinjutsu with the Gentle Fist and Dojutsu. Having reached significant milestones in both Fuinjutsu and medical ninjutsu, now ready to employ them in battles, as showcased here, Hikari began to shift his later-day focus as well. His afternoons, previously dedicated to the meticulous study and practice of Fuinjutsu and medical ninjutsu, were now occupied with a different kind of strategizing. Hikari turned his attention to the practical implementation of commercial activities within the clan, specifically those that could benefit his lineage. This shift was not just about broadening his skill set but also preparing for a significant transition in his life and career within the Hyuga clan, formally taking over as an elder. Meanwhile, as the duel between Hikari and the patriarch unfolded, Hayashi and Hisashi watched intently, their reactions a mix of concern for their father and their younger friend, pride for their clan, and ultimately, admiration. Initially, both brothers were tense, understanding the gravity of the test Hikari faced. However, as the duel progressed, Hayashi and Hisashi's initial concern for Hikari's welfare gradually gave way to respect and admiration. The conclusion of the duel, marked by their father's acknowledgement of Hikari's abilities and the declaration of their match as evenly matched, brought a sense of relief and satisfaction to both Hayashi and Hisashi. The patriarch's decision to end the duel and his words of praise confirmed their hopes and beliefs in Hikari's capabilities. Hayashi and Hisashi were not entirely taken aback by Hikari's impressive display of skill during the duel with their father, the patriarch. This wasn't their first time witnessing Hikari's capabilities, they had both sparred with him previously, although those encounters were conducted less thoughtfully. These sessions, intended more as training exercises than true tests of resolve, had already given them glimpses into Hikari's potential and the breadth of his abilities. Patriarch Sama, your mastery, vision, and strategic depth are also truly unparalleled, Hikari began, his voice steady and sincere, paying back the compliment. Facing you in combat has not only been an immense honor but a profound learning experience for me. Your techniques, especially the last one, truly showcased the power of our clan. Aware of the importance of aligning with key figures within the Hyuga clan, Hikari understood that building a rapport with the patriarch was crucial. This gesture of respect was not just about paying homage to the elder's skills, it was a calculated step towards fostering a beneficial relationship, recognizing the patriarch's influential position within the clan. Hikari knew that always currying favor and establishing closeness with the clan's leader could play a significant role in his future within the Hyuga, especially concerning many secrets he intuitively acknowledged that only the patriarch himself was probably aware. As the heartfelt exchange between Hikari and the Patriarch concluded, Hayashi and Hisashi made their way towards them, stepping onto the scene of the destroyed battleground. The area, bearing the marks of the intense duel, served as a vivid backdrop to the moment. Hayashi, with a thoughtful expression, surveyed the damage around them, a testament to the ferocity and skill displayed in the duel. His gaze then shifted to Hikari and the Patriarch, a slight smile forming as he witnessed the mutual respect and understanding shared between the generations. It was a moment that filled him with pride, not only in Hikari's demonstrated abilities but also in the depth of the clan's traditions and the continuity of its legacy. Hisashi, standing beside Hayashi, shared in the sentiment, his eyes reflecting a mix of admiration and contemplation. The sight of the Patriarch acknowledging Hikari's prowess and potential underscored for him the clan's strength and the promising future ahead. As Hikari watched Hayashi and Hisashi express their genuine happiness and pride, he began to reflect more deeply on their roles and potential within the Hyuga clan. Observing Hayashi, now 21 and at the peak of his physical development, but still lacking in terms of wisdom and spiritual energy, making him at least 10 years below his overall peak, Hikari recognized the significant strides Hayashi had made, partly spurred by Hikari's influence and encouragement. In Hikari's eyes, Hayashi had not only reached but mastered his arsenal of techniques, from the original series, far earlier than might have been expected. This included the formidable Twin Lion Fist, marking him as elite Jonin level, a testament to his dedication and potential. Yet, despite these achievements, Hikari noted a gap. Hayashi hadn't yet mastered that advanced technique that his father employed against Hikari. This pivotal skill, in Hikari's estimation, was a benchmark for reaching the Quasi-Kage level, a status epitomized by their father at his peak a few decades back. Hikari's observations extended to Hisashi as well, noting the unique strides he had made under Hikari's influence in recent years. Hisashi's efforts to expand his capabilities and explore new developments within the Hyuga clan technique framework were commendable, demonstrating his commitment to his personal growth and the clan's advancement. Yet, Hikari understood the limitations imposed by the Cursed Seal, a burden that significantly constrained Hisashi's potential to ascend within the clan's powerhouses. Currently, Hisashi's prowess positioned him around the level of an ordinary Jonin and his highest potential to be around the elite Jonin level as well. Beyond that, it was impossible due to the Cursed Seal effects on his bloodline. Maybe Hisashi is another good target for the lifting of the Cursed Seal, alongside Hinome, in the future, due to his potential. But that is at least a few years away before I could propose that plan with confidence, Hikari mused internally. After the deeply insightful and revealing duel, the atmosphere between Hikari, the Patriarch, Hayashi, and Hisashi was one of warm camaraderie and mutual respect. They exchanged farewells, each acknowledging the significance of the day's events and the insights gained. As Hikari made his way back to his residence within the main branch living area, the interactions he encountered along the way marked a notable shift in his standing in the clan. Members of the main branch, who crossed paths with Hikari, now all respectfully addressed him with an attentive young master, a title that signified more than mere respect for his abilities. This change underscored a recognition of Hikari's burgeoning role in the clan's leadership and decision-making processes. It was a clear acknowledgement of his talent, strength, and potential, but also of his increasing influence at the highest levels of clan governance. This newfound status placed Hikari in a unique position within the Hyuga hierarchy, second only to the Patriarch and his designated successor, Hayashi, who was often referred to as the young Patriarch. As Hikari navigated his way through the familiar paths of the main branch, the respectful acknowledgements from clan members soon became a backdrop to his deeper reflections. Accustomed to his rising status within the clan, Hikari's thoughts instead turned inward, focusing on the insights gleaned from his duel with the Patriarch and contemplating his own strength and future. Hikari acknowledged his exceptional talent, considering himself potentially the most gifted individual of his age in the history of Konoha, surpassing even the likes of Kakashi and Itachi in terms of strength at this specific age point in life. This was not a thought born from arrogance but rather a recognition of his unique position and the breadth of his abilities, honed by rigorous training, strategic thinking, and innovative approaches to shinobi arts. Yet, Hikari was also keenly aware of the evolving nature of talent and strength. He anticipated that by the age of 13, also an important point in time when in his life around which the Third Shinobi World War would start, despite his prodigious abilities, he might only reach early Kage level at best. He reflected on Itachi, who at the same age had already awakened his Mangekyo Sharingan, positioning him at a similar, if not probably superior, level of power, in the original story. There was also Shisui who awakened his Mangekyo even much earlier than Itachi, and that made it hard to say to which extent he could use it at such a young age and about his level. Furthermore, the legendary figures of Madara and Hashirama, though their exact strengths at his age were unknown, likely presented a comparable or even greater level of prowess. However, that was before the founding of Konoha. These thoughts did not dampen Hikari's spirit, instead, they fueled his determination to push his limits and continue his growth. As he continued his walk, Hikari's resolve only solidified. Chapter 50, officially becoming the new Third Elder. A few days later, the entire Hyuga clan was still abuzz with yesterday's announcement. Hikari Hyuga, from the third lineage of the main branch, was officially confirmed to become the new Third Elder. This decision, unanimously agreed upon by all the members of the Hyuga Council, marked a historic moment, appointing Hikari as the youngest elder of all time, at just 11 years old. His rapid rise was a clear testament to his exceptional talent, strength, strategy, and maturity. The unanimous support from the elders, with no voiced opposition, highlighted the confidence they had in Hikari's abilities and potential to contribute to the clan's governance. The wider clan, both from the main and side branches, mirrored this sentiment, acknowledging Hikari's new position and the implications it held for the clan's future. As the morning of the inauguration arrived, the atmosphere within the part of the Patriarch's residence designated for the Hyuga Council meetings was charged with a mix of solemnity and anticipation. This private ceremony, set to formally induct Hikari into his new role, was attended only by the council's members, including the Patriarch and the other 8 elders. The council room, typically a space for deliberation and decision-making, was prepared for the ceremony with a sense of reverence for the occasion. The elders and the Patriarch gathered, ready to witness and participate in this significant event, understanding its historical importance and the promise it held for ushering in a new chapter for the Hyuga clan under Hikari's emerging leadership. At the center of the room stood an ancient pedestal, upon which lay the Hyuga clan oath scroll, an artifact inscribed with vows that each elder was bound to uphold. These vows were a solemn pledge to protect the clan, foster its growth, and uphold its values and traditions. The air was heavy with the weight of history, each elder a link in the unbroken chain stretching back through generations. The ceremony commenced with the Patriarch addressing the assembly, his voice resonant, articulating the significance of the moment and the qualities that had elevated Hikari to this esteemed position at such a young age. Today, we stand witness to a historic moment, he began, as we welcome into our ranks a shinobi of unparalleled talent and wisdom beyond his years. Hikari Hyuga embodies the future of our clan, and in him, we place our trust and hope. Hikari, standing before the council and the oath scroll, was then invited to recite the elder's oath. His voice, steady and clear, resonated through the room as he vowed to serve the clan with honor, to lead with wisdom, and to dedicate his strength to the prosperity and protection of the Hyuga. The elders, listening intently, nodded in approval, their faces reflecting a mix of pride and solemnity. Following the recitation, the Patriarch stepped forward, placing his hand on Hikari's shoulder in a gesture of acceptance and blessing. With this oath, you are now bound to the Hyuga as its third elder. May your actions reflect the honor of this title and contribute to the glory of our clan. The ceremony concluded with a moment of silence, allowing the gravity of Hikari's vows to permeate the consciousness of all present. This was followed by a series of brief conversations among the elders, each offering Hikari words of wisdom, encouragement, and pledges of support. These exchanges, while formal, were tinged with genuine warmth and camaraderie, reflecting the collective commitment to the clan's future and Hikari's role in shaping it. As the ceremony drew to a close, the room, once filled with the solemnity of tradition and the weight of oaths, gradually lightened, the elders dispersing with a sense of renewed purpose, pride, and unity. Hikari, now officially the third elder, stood among them not just as a young shinobi of exceptional promise but as a symbol of the clan's strength and its forward-looking vision. After the inauguration ceremony's formalities had concluded, Hikari caught the eye of the Patriarch, who beckoned him with a look that spoke volumes. It was an expression marked by seriousness, signaling that what was to follow was of paramount importance. Hikari, driven by curiosity, acknowledged the gesture and prepared to follow the Patriarch into a deeper part of his residence rarely seen by others. They traversed the familiar yet solemn hallways of the Patriarch's home, each turn taking them deeper into another, more secluded section reserved for matters of great sensitivity. As Hikari followed the Patriarch to a seemingly mysterious location within his residence full of curiosity, his mind was already racing with the implications of his new role within the Hyuga clan. The position of the third elder carried with it significant authority, and he was informed of all of that just now fully. First and foremost, Hikari realized he now held one of the 10 critical votes in the Hyuga Council, granting him a direct say in the clan's most crucial decisions. This power was not just symbolic, it was a tangible representation of his newfound influence within the clan's governance. Additionally, Hikari pondered the personal changes his new role would bring. He could now move to the third estate, historically associated with his lineage but left quite lifeless until this point. Residing in the fifth estate alongside Takumi and his personnel had been a matter of circumstance, but now he was poised to assume his rightful place within the clan's spatial hierarchy. More than just a shift in residence, Hikari was now in complete control of his lineage's commercial operations and budget. This control extended to overseeing accounting documents and managing personnel directly employed at the third estate and in external operations, including servants, commercial workers, and even civilians involved in Hyuga clan industries outside the compound. Another crucial aspect of his ascension was the formal acquisition of all of his lineage's potential records or techniques, which, although previously imparted to him by Takumi, were now officially under his stewardship. With this new role came a higher status within the clan. Members were now required to address him as Third Elder Sama, a title that commanded respect and acknowledged his elevated position in the clan hierarchy. However, Hikari was acutely aware of the challenges that lay ahead. His lineage had not been popular among the other elders, especially concerning administrative and broader roles within Konoha, having been slowly stripped of such responsibilities over time. Yet, with his ascension, it was agreed that his lineage would finally be given their first administrative role. The newly granted Alliance Coordinator status, allowing him to form a team and division focused on external coordination with other clans and his new mission. Chapter 51, The Secret Chamber of the Hyuga Clan. As Hikari and the Patriarch navigated through the intricate network of hidden passages within the depths of the residence, they encountered several layers of protective chakra barriers. These barriers were ingeniously designed, not only to prevent unauthorized entry but also to shield the room from any form of external sensing or Byakugan's surveillance. Upon entering the chamber, Hikari was met with a sight that was both awe-inspiring and to some possibly unnerving. The room, an amalgamation of ancient heritage and advanced preservation methods, housed countless sealed and meticulously preserved Byakugan eyes of past Hyuga generations. The Patriarch, observing Hikari's reaction, began to speak of the room's purpose with a solemnity befitting its significance. This knowledge is beyond the reach of ordinary clan members and even those well-read on clan lore like you. It is a privilege and responsibility of the elders alone, he explained, his voice echoing slightly in the hallowed space. He moved with a deliberate grace, indicative of the deep respect he held for the chamber and its contents. As he spoke, he gestured towards the preserved Byakugan, highlighting the advanced preservation techniques employed. Each elder lineage contributes to this collection, safeguarding the strongest Byakugan among their deceased, utilizing a method known only to my lineage. It's a critical duty of the Patriarch to protect this treasure. The preservation methods themselves were a marvel of shinobi ingenuity, blending ancient sealing techniques with modern technologies. Specialized sealing scrolls and chakra-infused containment units maintained the integrity of the Byakugan, ensuring they remained potent and intact through generations. This system, a testament to the Hyuga clan's technological and chakra-based advancements, underscored the importance of the Byakugan not just as a Kekkei Genkai but as a cornerstone of the clan's identity and strength. Hikari was truly stunned at this time. In rare cases, the Patriarch continued, his demeanor reflecting the secrecy of the matter, an elder may choose a pair of these high-purity Byakugan to replace those of a lineage member whose eyes have not awakened or do not meet the main branch's standards. As Hikari took in the room more fully, he was struck by its vastness and the palpable sense of history it contained. The chamber, expansive in size, seemed to stretch out beyond the immediate reach of the dim, ambient lighting, suggesting that it extended even further into the hidden depths of the Patriarch's residence. The sheer scale of the space hinted at its capacity to hold not just decades but centuries worth of the Hyuga clan's legacy, possibly dating back to the Deep Warring States period. Despite the outward curiosity and wonder on Hikari's face as he absorbed the sights of the ancient chamber, inwardly, his mind raced with intrigue and a burning desire to uncover the deeper secrets of the Hyuga clan. Though tempted to activate his Byakugan for a closer inspection, he restrained himself, wary of arousing suspicion or betraying his intense fascination with the chamber's mysteries. Hikari's keen understanding of Fuinjutsu and the scientific principles of this world led him to speculate that the preserved Byakugan were not merely stored for potential transplantation. He sensed that these eyes were part of a larger, more complex system continuously channeling chakra toward an unknown destination or purpose. This realization sparked a flurry of thoughts in Hikari's mind. The preservation of these eyes was likely contributing to a powerful reservoir of energy, intricately linked to the genetic legacy and residual chakra of countless Hyuga ancestors. This chamber, Hikari hypothesized, was not just a tomb of the past but a cornerstone of the patriarch's lineage's strength. The continuous flow of chakra from these preserved Byakugan, combined with the genetic material they contained, might be fueling a secret mechanism or vessel, a source of immense power that could be tapped into by the patriarch in times of dire need. The existence of the cursed seals, long a contentious aspect of the clan's history, suddenly took on new meaning in Hikari's analysis. Perhaps these seals served a dual purpose, not only maintaining order within the clan but also acting as conduits, possibly having a command ingrained of channeling the chakra of side branch members to augment this hidden reservoir of genetic material in times of critical need, finalizing an intricate fusion. The implications of such a system were profound, suggesting a level of preparedness for existential threats that the clan might have faced in its ancient history. Hikari found himself at the precipice of understanding, realizing that the secrets he was beginning to unravel were tied to the very essence of the Hyuga's strength and survival. As he stood in the chamber, surrounded by the silent testimony of generations, Hikari was more determined than ever to delve deeper into the mysteries of his clan. Hikari's revelations within the secret chamber reshaped his understanding of the Hyuga clan's true might. The clan, often perceived through the lens of its visible strengths and the prowess of the Byakugan, harbored secrets that could potentially redefine its standing within the broader shinobi world. Speculating on the magnitude of power the patriarch could potentially unleash through this ancient system, Hikari found himself at a loss. The scope and implications were beyond his current ability to fully speculate. Conscious of the need to mask his internal storm of thoughts and maintain the facade of an uninformed newcomer to the clan's deeper mysteries, Hikari steered the conversation back to more general topics related to the clan's governance and traditions. He skillfully navigated the discussion, keeping his tone light and inquisitive, all the while maintaining the clueless persona he had adopted upon entering the room. This careful balance allowed him to continue gathering insights without revealing the depth of his understanding or the intensity of his curiosity. Eventually, the time came for their meeting to conclude. The patriarch, signaling the end of their time together in the chamber. With a final look around the chamber, taking in once more the sealed Byakugan that represented both the clan's legacy and its hidden strength, Hikari followed the patriarch out of the room. They navigated back through the secret pathways and protective chakra barriers, emerging once again into the more familiar parts of the residence. Hikari then soon stepped away from the entire residence, his mind ablaze with the secrets he had been just privy to and the role he would play in the future of the Hyuga clan. Chapter 52, Relocating and Commercial Strategies. As soon as Hikari stepped out of the patriarch's estate, he was met with a palpable shift in the atmosphere. The respect and reverence from the clan members he encountered were markedly more pronounced than before. Their bows were deeper, their gazes more deferential, and the title they used to address him, Third Elder Sama, carried a weight that underscored the significance of his new seat. Embracing his new role, Hikari made his way to the Fifth Estate, where Takumai, his mentor and childhood caregiver, already awaited him outside of his residence to say their official goodbyes and similar words. Hikari, Takumai greeted, his voice carrying a blend of respect and familiarity that had defined their relationship over the years. Takumai-sensei, Hikari responded, acknowledging the subtle shift in how Takumai addressed him. Gon was the kun suffix, a change that reflected Hikari's elevated status within the clan, now being in the same position as Takumai. However, some warmth and closeness still remained as seen by how Takumai called him by his name without any hesitation right away. The atmosphere between them was markedly different from the formal setting of the earlier ceremony. Here, in the more intimate surroundings of the Fifth Estate, Takumai took the opportunity to offer his congratulations, something the protocol of the official event hadn't allowed. Congratulations, Hikari. Your new position is well deserved, Takumai said, his usual stern demeanor softening slightly to convey his genuine pride in Hikari's achievements. Hikari sensed the sincerity in Takumai's words and felt a surge of gratitude. Over the years, their relationship had evolved significantly. What began as a calculated mentorship, with Takumai viewing Hikari as a promising investment, and Hikari viewing Takumai as a temporary shelter, had grown into a somewhat more complex genuine bond to some extent. Takumai's stern and reserved nature had always made him a challenging figure to read, but his consistent guidance and other kinds of help had been instrumental in Hikari's development. I already ordered for all your stuff to be moved to the Third Estate, and I also ordered all of my available personnel to go there and join your personnel in helping you move in there and reorganize the estate in a way that you would like next. Takumai spoke, his actions reflected a level of care that went beyond mere duty, it was a gesture of solidarity and support for him. You also know that you can come here at any time if there is anything you need, right, Hikari? Takumai continued, reinforcing the open door he had always offered to Hikari. As for other things, just follow your own mind. You are even more intelligent than me, to be honest, there is no need to hesitate about anything." Those words were a clear signal that Takamai saw Hikari not just as a student or protege but as a fully fledged leader on his own. "So, I'm not worried about how you'll fare in your new position, just be careful when you venture outside the compound, please." "You know why?" The caution in Takamai's voice hinted at the complexities and dangers that came with Hikari's elevated status in the village. "And if you need any help, I'm willing to even personally move on your request." Takamai's offer of personal assistance was a significant gesture, underscoring the depth of his commitment to Hikari's success and well-being both for the clan's future and due to their close relationship. Hikari found himself momentarily taken aback by the depth of Takamai's dedication. It wasn't just the material support of organizing his move to the Third Estate or the offer of ongoing assistance, it was the genuine concern for his welfare that resonated deeply with Hikari. At that moment, moved by Takamai's commitment, Hikari silently vowed to ensure Takamai's well-being in the future as much as possible, as long as it aligned with his overarching goals, a commitment he deemed highly feasible given their shared interests and mutual respect. Internally, Hikari also paid homage to Takamai's prowess. He was acutely aware of the strength that Takamai possessed, which ranked him among the strongest figures within the clan, alongside figures like the Patriarch, Hayashi, and now Hikari himself, his top 4 estimates. Takamai's reliance on spiritual energy and yin release, for his most advanced techniques, truly set him apart. It made it so that his skill set was less dependent on brute physical strength than for an average shinobi. That means that even as Takamai entered his first years of 50s, his capabilities remained largely unaffected. After exchanging a few more sincere words of farewell with Takamai, Hikari went on his way toward the Third Estate. This marked a significant change, as he had spent the last 8 years in the Fifth Estate under Takamai's mentorship. Now, with his new role as Third Elder, he was ready to take on the responsibilities and start managing the logistics of his lineage's estate. The walk there was filled with anticipation for the changes ahead and a readiness to embrace his new duties. Upon reaching the front of his Third Estate, Hikari took a moment to survey the scene before him. The estate, comparable in size to Takamai's Fifth Estate and those of the other elder lineages, buzzed with activity. As Takamai had promised, personnel were bustling about, engaged in moving belongings, cleaning, and attending to various tasks. Alongside them, Hikari's new servants, some of whom had been waiting in the estate for his arrival over the past 8 years, while others had just been appointed by the Patriarch, all showed him the utmost respect and saluted him upon his arrival. Observing the estate more closely, Hikari noted that despite its similar size, it appeared more barren and slightly neglected compared to the residences of the other elders, but that was about to be changed from then. Stepping into the Third Estate, Hikari couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. The vast space was now his to command, which was quite beneficial to some of his follow-up plans. As he moved through the estate, inspecting each room, the courtyard, and the expansive areas within, he was met with respect and salutes from the busy personnel and servants. As Hikari assessed the estate's current condition, his mind was already racing with plans for its transformation. His first order of business was to establish the diplomatic division he had been granted permission to form. Furthermore, Hikari planned to relocate all commercial activities related to his lineage to the Third Estate like other elders. This move would also symbolize the Third Estate's revival as a key hub of activity and influence within the clan. Hikari was confident that the transition and the reorganization of the Third Estate, alongside the integration of his lineage's commercial operations, would be smooth and swift. His involvement in these operations over the past few years had not only familiarized him with the intricacies of the business but also earned him considerable respect from managers and workers alike. His innovative approaches and strategic improvements had significantly revitalized his lineage's commercial activities, rejuvenation, and bringing them on par with, if not surpassing, those managed by other elder lineages, even before his official ascension to elder status. This groundwork laid by Hikari meant that most of the personnel were already aligned with his vision and methods. They respected his leadership and were likely to be cooperative and efficient in implementing the changes he planned. Hikari anticipated that with a few days of focused effort, the necessary adjustments and enhancements to the estate and its operations could be accomplished seamlessly. The innovative policies and business strategies that Hikari introduced, which were influenced by his unique knowledge from a past life, had not gone unnoticed by the other elders within the Hyuga clan. Observing the success and efficiency brought about by Hikari's methods, several elders began to adopt similar tactics within their own lineage's operations. This collective shift towards more modern and effective management practices significantly enhanced the clan's commercial ventures, leading to a notable increase in prosperity. It all made the Hyuga clan now officially the wealthiest shinobi clan within Konoha and the world. The sweeping success and modernization of the Hyuga clan's commercial operations, largely influenced by Hikari's innovative approaches, certainly also played a large role in the elder's relatively straightforward decision to appoint him as a full-on elder at such a young age. However, this rise in prominence and wealth also brought with it a heightened wariness from the Hokage's faction. Focusing on areas where his lineage had traditionally been involved, Hikari decided to concentrate on real estate and housing services, training facilities and dojos, and entertainment and leisure. Although there were many other sectors that the other lineages had been involved in that could also apply some of the same principles as he did in his own. Leveraging his knowledge from a past life, he sought to revolutionize these sectors with innovative approaches and efficiency improvements in order to make more profitable investments, acquire the best value assets, and generate the most profits, and he did it. For example, among many of the things he did, a few of them were that Hikari applied principles of supply and demand to adjust offerings based on market needs, ensuring his businesses were always aligned with current trends and requirements. He also utilized economic forecasting to anticipate shifts in the shinobi world that could affect his operations, allowing him to stay ahead of competitors. He embraced strategic planning and SWOT analysis to identify opportunities for growth and areas needing improvement. Lean management techniques were adopted to streamline operations, reduce waste, and improve overall efficiency across all ventures. Hikari was also strategic and discerning, focusing on areas with the highest potential for return. He understood the importance of portfolio diversification, spreading investments across different sectors to mitigate risks associated with the volatile shinobi economy. He introduced budgeting practices that allowed for more effective allocation of resources, ensuring financial stability and sustainability. Cost-benefit analysis became a standard procedure before any new investment, ensuring that resources were only put into ventures with a clear path to profitability. Sales and marketing strategies were modernized to include segmentation and targeting, allowing Hikari's businesses to tailor their offerings to specific segments of the Konoha population and beyond. Promotional strategies were refined to create more impactful campaigns that resonated with their intended audiences. Hikari focused on talent acquisition and development, creating an environment that attracted and retained top talent by offering competitive compensation, opportunities for advancement, and a workplace culture that valued innovation and teamwork. By harnessing his past life knowledge and carefully adapting it to the context of his world, Hikari set new standards for excellence and innovation within his lineage's businesses. All of those strategies were revolutionary in a setting like Konoha, where the norm was an economy driven by the interests of a few, operating under a crony rent-seeking model rather than a straightforward free market system. In this environment, the economic landscape was dominated by powerful shinobi clans, leaving small-time civilian merchants struggling to survive and stifling opportunities for upward economic mobility. If ordinary civilians dared to challenge this established order, they would find themselves targeted by threats from these influential clans, with no protection from the Hokage. This issue was particularly acute under the leadership of Hiruzen and his advisors, whose clans the Sarutobi, Shimura, Utanane, and Mitokade were the primary beneficiaries of this insular economy. They monopolized key administrative and governance roles, enabling their own business interests to thrive through advantageous public contracts and regulations, thus cementing their wealth and power in such an unbalanced economic framework. Nevertheless, Konoha's essence as a military-focused society, where financial gain was predominantly through shinobi and mercenary kind of means, implied that the necessity for a shift towards free market capitalism was not paramount. With all of this understanding, Hikari, leveraging his sophisticated business insights and knowledge from his previous life on Earth, early on recognized the futility of attempting to secure a larger share of the pie for his Hyuga clan within Konoha's tightly controlled economy, which was firmly in the hands of the Hokage's faction. Instead, he chose to expand the pie for his lineage and clan by introducing innovative business concepts and ideas, aiming to transform the economic system from within. Chapter 53, The Next Steps for Hinome's Research. A few days later, after finishing his pre-afternoon daily training and with the major tasks of setting up his industries under centralized control of some of his new estate's buildings, and the new diplomatic division completely set up already, Hikari took a moment to step back from the whirlwind of duties that had consumed him since assuming his role as third elder. His responsibilities had kept him from meeting Hinome for a week, a delay that was unusual for him, given the importance he placed on their collaboration. Dressed in his refined dark blue robes, now complemented by a heiori that marked his status, Hikari presented a picture of Hyuga nobility as he prepared to leave his refurbished estate. Accompanied by a carefully selected personal entourage of bodyguards and attendants from the side branch, Hikari moved with deliberate steps towards the side branch living area next. His destination was the Hyuga Medical Research Center, where he would usually go and find Hinome. Navigating the streets of the side branch living area with his imposing entourage, Hikari commanded attention and respect. The presence of his bodyguards and the significance of his attire marked him as a figure of considerable importance within the clan. As they made their way to the Hyuga Medical and Research Center, the crowd parted in acknowledgement, their salutes a sign of reverence. Upon reaching the institute, Hikari didn't hesitate and went in as he was quite familiar with the place. The corridors of the institute were filled with the hustle and bustle of researchers and medical professionals, but Hikari's presence seemed to bring a momentary calm, as people paused to acknowledge him. Hinome had wrapped up her education at the institute quite a while back and, despite being young, now led her own research department. It wasn't long before Hikari located her room. Hinome was deeply engrossed in her work, a testament to her dedication and the reason behind her rapid rise within the institute. When Hinome caught sight of Hikari's figure, her face lit up with a slight warmth and happiness, a spontaneous reaction to seeing a longtime collaborator and friend, as she walked over. However, the sight of his entourage and the realization of his new, elevated status made her pause, introducing a moment of uncertainty. She hesitated, unsure how to address him now, caught between the formalities required by his new title and their familiar way of interacting. Noticing her unease, Hikari couldn't help but smile a bit to ease the tension and bridge the gap that his new position might have created between them. "No need to be hesitant, Hinome, call me by my name only just like before," he said softly. There was no other reason. In scientific research and medical ninjutsu, she was already above him a long time ago and was the crucial and most fundamentally valuable part of his plans. Therefore, Hikari was always the most polite to her. Thanks to the long-term focus and protection she enjoyed from Hikari concerning her, Hinome now appeared much more confident than before, unlike many of the ordinary side branch members. She was also already considered the biggest genius in the scientific field that the Hyuga clan had so far, now also leading her research team here, making her quite more self-assured in that way than before. Even many members of the main branch, she encountered now, aware of her close ties with Hikari, treated her with a level of politeness that was uncommon. At 13, 2 years Hikari's senior now, Hinome was entering a new phase of her life, with the onset of puberty beginning to reveal some of her womanly characteristics, and promising great potential in those areas as well once she fully developed in the future. Her appearance was still marked by her shoulder-length dark brown messy-looking hair and the standard Hyuga clan eyes with a pretty and symmetrical face. She still had the same heavy bangs covering her cursed seal marking. Her attire was mostly white-like and resembled that of a researcher. "I've already talked with the director and the sixth elder, it's time for you and your research team to move into my estate next, as we agreed upon. I've arranged for people to move everything there," Hikari announced. His words were a clear indication of the plans he had in place for Hinome and her team. Over the years, Hinome incorporated only a select few individuals into her team that would eventually become Hikari's own research group. All of them were carefully vetted by him, and were now transferred to his lineage as well, although most of them still wouldn't be informed about what kind of work they planned to do, they would do some general research help and remain unaware. Everything else would only be done and known to the two of them. Meanwhile, Hinome gave a nod toward his words, her outward expression steady, yet inside, she harbored a hint of shyness about the impending move. Transitioning from her modest side branch home, which her deceased parents left to her, to now about to be residing in Hikari's expansive elder-level estate, alongside him, marked a significant change. Despite the vast space of the estate, it was still living alongside a boy in her mind. However, despite the initial apprehension, she felt a growing sense of anticipation and positivity about the move. Hinome realized that being closer to Hikari would allow her more frequent interactions and discussions with him about many different things, something she valued highly and often missed when he was busy before. She considered, this is probably because I'll be able to talk to Hikari more often once I start living and conducting my research there, unlike before. That's what I feel so excited. Hikari's unique ability to grasp the nuances of her work and his keen interest in the fields she was also exploring made him an invaluable ally and confidant. After all, Hikari is the only one in the clan who truly understands my research and the areas I'm passionate about and is a friend to me. He always seems so mature for his age, providing me with a strong sense of security and invaluable advice, Hinome reflected silently. Then as Hikari and Hinome soon stepped out of the building together, the bodyguards and attendants swiftly formed a protective circle around them. Their easy conversation and laughter, shared in close proximity, drew curious and envious glances from the side branch members who witnessed the scene both inside the institute and out on the streets. The sight of Hikari, a figure of such prominence within the main branch, so openly engaging with Hinome, a member of the side branch, sparked whispers and speculation about the nature of their relationship. Hinome, initially animated by the positive interaction with Hikari, after a week of not seeing him, couldn't help but blush as she became fully aware of the attention their walk and she herself were attracting. The murmurs and gossip among the onlookers grew louder, fueled by envy and curiosity about her apparent good fortune to be so favorably regarded by someone of Hikari's status. Observing this, Hikari sighed softly and then gave a discreet command to his entourage. They promptly took action, gently but firmly moving the onlookers away and creating a barrier between them and the whispering crowd. Once Hinome regained her composure, their conversation shifted to a more professional topic. They discussed the equipment Hikari had acquired through the clan's secret channels, equipment that was due to arrive shortly. This new gear was essential for their next steps, as the relocation of Hinome's research to Hikari's personal residence marked a significant turning point. With the move, they anticipated the opportunity to advance their research in ways previously constrained by the public setting of the Hyuga Medical Research Center. Meanwhile, as Hikari and Hinome transitioned from the side branch to the main branch residential area, the atmosphere shifted once again. Despite the sparser population here, their presence quickly became the center of attention. Word had spread fast about the third elder escorting an unfamiliar young girl of similar age as him to his estate a few days after he also previously moved in, sparking curiosity and speculation among the main branch members, and increasing their numbers on the streets. Unlike in the side branch area, Hikari's attendants found it more challenging to manage the onlookers and gossipers here, given the higher status of the observers. This shift in atmosphere led to an awkward pause in their conversation. Hinome, then amidst the whispers and speculative glances, found herself blushing once again. The murmurs around them grew, filled with speculation. Who is this young woman? Why is she standing so close to the third elder Sama and talking so intimately? Could this be the new lady of the third lineage? Each guess and whisper got more outrageous than the last one, causing Hinome to blush harder and harder after accidentally overhearing some of them. Her reaction was subtle, marked by a quietness and a gentle fidgeting of her hands, with her head down, a stark contrast to the escalating gossip around them. "Let's walk faster then," Hikari suggested, a hint of helplessness crossing his features as he glanced around. Hinome, still caught in a daze from the whirlwind of attention and speculation, and absent-minded, simply nodded in agreement. Without another word, they quickened their pace, moving through the main branch residential area toward the third estate. As they approached the third estate, Hinome couldn't hide her astonishment at its grandeur and sheer size, which, in her eyes, seemed to surpass even that of the Hyuga clan's medical and research center. The estate stood as a testament to the prestige and responsibility that came with Hikari's new position, its expansive grounds and imposing architecture reflecting the significance of the third elder within the clan. Her initial reaction was one of awe, taking in the meticulously maintained gardens that led to the main residence. Hikari, noticing Hinome's stunned expression, offered a reassuring smile. Understanding the importance of making her feel welcome and at ease in this new environment, he gently led her through the entrance. Chapter 54, Hinome moving to Hikari's third estate. Later that day, after Hinome had time to settle into her designated living space within the third estate, and the afternoon had given way to the early evening, they reconvened. This time, their meeting place was one of the estate's spacious training fields, a serene spot that contrasted with the flurry of activities that had marked their day. "How have you settled in?" Hikari inquired, his voice carrying a genuine concern for her comfort and adaptation to the new environment. "It's all right," Hinome replied, her response brief yet carrying an undertone of appreciation for the efforts made to accommodate her. The simplicity of her answer belied the significant change she was undergoing, adapting not just to a new physical space but also to those strange implications she heard earlier today. "That's great. You are my most important and closest partner so far in this clan, and you know that. As my chief assistant, it's not only your research skills that matter. Growing stronger and being able to protect yourself is crucial too," Hikari began, his tone underscored by the seriousness of his words. "Here's a collection of some advanced wind release and lightning release ninjutsu that I've compiled from within the clan during these days. You must master these techniques now. After ascending to this position, it wasn't that hard for me to get them, so don't worry." Hikari's commitment to Hinome's safety and development was evident. "I know I'm also not an expert in these types of ninjutsu, so I've arranged for specialists to come and train you. They're experts in their fields, and they'll start working with you occasionally from tomorrow," he continued, revealing his proactive approach to ensuring Hinome had all the resources she needed to grow, not just intellectually, but as a shinobi as well. Hinome accepted the sealing scrolls containing the ninjutsu techniques from Hikari, a wave of gratitude washing over her. She felt a profound sense of appreciation, recognizing the lengths to which Hikari went to ensure her safety and development. For Hinome, Hikari's significance in her life transcended the professional realm. While Hikari might view her as a vital partner in their shared endeavors, to Hinome, he was the most important person in her life. His actions protecting her, supporting her, and fostering her growth highlighted a level of care that no one else had shown since her parents passed away. This realization deepened her respect and affection for him, further solidifying the unique bond she shared with him. A few years earlier, Hikari had taken the initiative to determine Hinome's chakra affinities, which revealed her unique twin affinities for wind and lightning release. Since that discovery, he had dedicated himself to nurturing those affinities, sharing with her the methods and practices he had used to enhance his own wind release capabilities earlier. Over time, Hikari introduced Hinome to a variety of lower-level jutsu, focusing on C and D ranks, to build a solid foundation and gradually increase her mastery over her affinities. "Come on, show me your progress in our clan's advanced techniques," Hikari's voice broke through the air, a hint of a smile playing on his lips as he assumed a gentle fist stance opposite Hinome. Hinome nodded in acknowledgement and mirrored his stance, her expression a mix of concentration and determination. Then she launched into her attack. She executed the 64 palms with precision, her movements a blur as she moved from one strike to the next. This was followed by the vacuum palms, sending a forceful burst of chakra towards Hikari, who expertly dodged, his smile widening in approval. Lastly, she performed the rotation, creating a protective barrier of chakra around herself, a technique that required a deep understanding of one's chakra flow and control. Each technique Hinome displayed was a testament to Hikari's meticulous teaching and her innate intelligence and adaptability. The success of her execution confirmed that their training sessions had been fruitful, showcasing a level of mastery that was impressive, especially considering her side branch origins. Hikari's decision to teach Hinome these advanced techniques, traditionally reserved for main branch members, was a bold move. However, he was unfazed by the potential controversy. His status as third elder now afforded him a certain level of autonomy and authority, and he was prepared to leverage it to support Hinome's development. In his view, Hinome's mastery of these techniques could be justified by her observational learning during their shared training sessions, a plausible explanation that would likely quell any significant objections. Of course, Takumai's and Patriarch's techniques weren't taught to her, as they were more personal to their lineages. Hikari considered Hinome to be invaluable, primarily because of the deep trust he had in her. This trust was rooted in their history, starting from when Hinome was very young and vulnerable, and was nurtured by Hikari's continuous guidance and care ever since then. He believed these years of constant support and his influencing made the likelihood of her betraying him very slim. Not to mention that her significance to him was also further amplified by her exceptional abilities in research and her unique Byakugan microscopic vision, which were critical for achieving his objectives. That was why, he was determined to ensure her safety at all costs. Hinome's prowess in medical ninjutsu, augmented by her specialized microscopic Byakugan vision, had allowed her to excel in some areas even beyond Hikari, particularly in self-healing. This skill set placed her performance around the special Jonin level, quite unusual for a side branch member of her age. During this spar, Hinome also demonstrated not only her mastery of conventional techniques but also her innovative approach to combat. She had developed unique techniques that leveraged her medical ninjutsu affinity and gentle fist training in offensive capacities, such as chakra pathway severances and clotting. By using her yang release, she could also induce cellular overgrowth in her opponents, an effective way to incapacitate them. However, she didn't get a chance to use this against Hikari, due to the difference in strength. After offering Hinome numerous pointers throughout their spar, they eventually concluded their short session. Hikari, with a smile of approval, complimented Hinome on her progress, acknowledging the strides she had made in her training. "You are developing your strength quite well, Hinome," he remarked, his words carrying a tone of genuine praise and satisfaction. "However, I feel that Hinome would truly experience a great breakthrough in strength only after focusing on successfully mixing those two nature release affinities of yours together and creating your own unique, entirely new Pseudo-Keki Genkai elemental release from the mix," as we discussed before, Hikari suddenly added. In the past few years, Hikari had shifted his research focus mostly towards a deeper understanding of chakra as an energy source after learning basically everything else there was to learn about this world over the years. That was why he also now knew so much about stuff like chakra potency and the development and growth of the inner chakra pathway system, among other aspects. This extensive research had equipped him with a profound knowledge base, which he was eager to share with Hinome, especially given her unique talents, insights, and abilities. Hikari proposed that Hinome could achieve unprecedented growth by combining her wind and lightning affinities to forge a new elemental nature release unique to only her. This innovative approach, leveraging her distinct Byakugan microvision and her prowess in cutting-edge research, held the promise of creating something truly exceptional that could redefine her capabilities and offer surprise advantages over all of her potential enemies. I read over the literature regarding that, and I felt that it is truly possible, but extremely hard to achieve. However, I also feel that I have to do this for myself if I want to gain a foothold in this cutthroat world like you always say. Hinome, still catching her breath and a bit sweaty from their duel, now dressed in more formal white robes styled for female Hyuga members, but of a more noble kind of origin, sent to her by Hikari himself through his servants, expressed her determination. The conviction in her voice and the resolve on her face underscored the depth of her commitment. Over the years, Hinome's desire for knowledge and power had grown, fueled by the insights she shared with Hikari about the realities of their world. However, this desire was not entirely just about personal ambition, it was also driven by her wish to remain valuable to Hikari, to ensure she never became a liability or irrelevant to him. The thought of a future without Hikari's presence, guidance, and support was unimaginable to her, highlighting the profound impact he had on her life and aspirations. Confidence brimmed within Hinome, bolstered by the knowledge of Hikari's own daring achievements. She believed in her capacity to create this new elemental release, seeing it as a challenge within her reach, especially given the innovative breakthroughs Hikari himself had accomplished. However, after suddenly seeing Hinome's determined expression, which he found unexpectedly endearing, Hikari couldn't help but smile, and in a rare departure from his usual demeanor, and in a moment of uncharacteristic spontaneity, he stepped forward and affectionately ruffled her hair, an act of encouragement and approval for her bold words and the confidence she just displayed. This gentle gesture left her hair even more tousled than before. Caught off guard by his own actions, Hikari then stared at his hand, as if it belonged to someone else, his mind racing with thoughts that clashed with his typical cold and calculated approach. Hinome's reaction was one of sheer surprise, her face flushed with a deep red, her usually neat and dense bangs now disarrayed, inadvertently revealing the faint, ominous mark of the side branch beneath. Hikari was momentarily taken aback by his impulsiveness, reflecting, "It seems that after becoming an elder, I've become looser and bolder than before. What was I doing? I can't afford to waste time and focus on such matters, I need to be completely focused on my goals." This introspection led Hikari to recognize that his recent rise in status might have loosened the reins on his suppressed instincts, particularly his subtle and strange affection for Hinome, a realization that caught him by surprise. At that moment, Hikari acknowledged the complexity of his feelings related to Hinome, thankfully still in their infancy, recognizing them as a potential huge distraction from his ambitions and the strength he sought to achieve. Despite the warmth of the interaction, he resolved to firmly rein in these initial impulses, believing that such vulnerabilities could not be afforded in his quest for power and influence, especially not while he was still this relatively weak in comparison to many potential threats. Unbeknownst to Hikari, however, Hinome was watching him closely at this time, her gaze hidden beneath her disheveled bangs. The unexpected warmth of his gesture left her with a racing heart, her cheeks flushed even more deeply from the brief but impactful contact. Yet, as she witnessed Hikari's immediate shift towards regret for his previous action, a twinge of disappointment flickered within her entire being. However, Hinome's keen observation also led to a pivotal realization. As she saw Hikari grapple with his actions, her initial disappointment gave way to a deeper understanding. She also recognized the complexity of her own feelings towards him now, feelings that had evolved and were now finally openly realized by her. And she also sensed a mirror of those emotions faintly in Hikari too, albeit restrained by the ambitions that weighed heavily on him and possible hidden fears. So that is it. I finally understand those feelings slightly. And also his feelings for me are somewhat similar. It is just that his ambitions probably prevent them from growing more and prevent him from being more open to facing them. Then I also won't be the one to distract him, and will silently grow in strength and assist him more, in various ways, until that day finally arrives in the future. This epiphany brought a sincere smile to Hinome's face next, even as they stood together in an awkward silence. Chapter 55, The First Touch with the Natural Energy. After their parting, Hikari made his way back to the main building of the Third Estate, which now served as his home. The estate, grand in scale and rich in Hyuga tradition, embodied the prestige of his new position. As he entered, the familiar yet imposing architecture of the main building stood as a testament to the lineage's history and power. The building was a harmonious blend of traditional Hyuga aesthetic and modern shinobi functionality, with spacious halls and rooms designed for both living and training. Hikari's thoughts lingered on Hinome, her determination, and the unique bond they shared, even as he ascended to the roof of the building. The rooftop offered an expansive view of Konoha, with its bustling streets in the distance and the Hokage monument close to the compound. This sight, coupled with the cool evening air, provided a moment of reflection and solitude. Settling into a seated position at this vantage point, Hikari began to focus on calming his mind from those previous matters amongst other impurities. He employed a breathing technique designed to steady his heart rate and clear his thoughts, a necessary precursor to the next phase of his routine. The tranquility of the scene, with the sprawling village below bathed in the hues of the setting sun, served as the perfect backdrop for this practice. With his mind and body aligned, Hikari prepared to delve into a crucial part of his daily regimen, spiritual meditation combined with Byakugan Dojutsu training and the cultivation of his ability to see and interact with natural energy. As Hikari continued to refine his unique Byakugan ability to perceive natural energy, the once vague outlines began to clarify, though not yet to the extent that he could utilize this energy in combat or training. Each day, he patiently worked to deepen his connection with the natural energy currents that flowed around him, these transparent, nature-like forces that remained just beyond full comprehension. His approach involved gently merging his chakra with the natural energy, attempting to establish a connection that would, over time, become strong enough for practical use. Hikari's goal was not merely to observe but to mold this elusive and unique energy of this universe together with his own chakra, integrating it into his techniques and enhancing his power further. However, even establishing the slightest connection proved challenging. The process was gradual, requiring patience and a deep, intuitive understanding of both his chakra and the natural energy that surrounded him. This endeavor was akin to reaching out into a vast, unseen world, trying to grasp something intangible and elusive. Despite the difficulties, Hikari's dedication never wavered. He pushed the boundaries of what was considered normal, each day, focusing intensely. Exerting his Byakugan beyond conventional limits, and making hundreds of thousands of attempts to forge a connection between his inner chakra and the elusive patterns of natural invisible energy around him over the years. Hikari's relentless pursuit, marked by his extraordinary concentration and the sheer volume of his attempts, underscored his commitment to breaking new ground in shinobi arts. This journey was solitary and demanding, pushing Hikari to the limits of his abilities and even his sanity. Yet, it was driven by the belief that connecting with natural energy could elevate his skills to unprecedented levels. However, eventually, just before Hikari settled into the routine of his evening, an unprecedented breakthrough occurred. For the first time, suddenly he managed to grasp a connection between his chakra and the natural energy surrounding him. This moment was fleeting, yet unmistakably real, a significant first step toward mastering a skill that had eluded him for so long. The sensation of finally connecting his chakra with the natural energy sent a wave of ecstatic relief and excitement through him. It was a moment of validation for all the relentless efforts, the countless attempts that had led to this point. Hikari even had an urge to cry. Hikari found himself caught in a whirlwind of euphoria and disbelief, marveling at the sensation that coursed through him as his chakra mingled with the natural energy. This achievement prompted Hikari to reflect on the recent changes in his life. He pondered whether this success was, in part, due to the internal shift that came with his ascent to the position of third elder. The responsibilities and recognition that accompanied his new role had, paradoxically, led to a loosening of some of his mental pressures. Or was it all perhaps because he was truly beginning to accept his identity as a real part of this world after the 8 years already passed since his transmigration here, more and more, finalizing completely now after getting that role? Just as this newfound status had inadvertently encouraged him to express his affection for Hinome more openly, it seemed to have also granted him a deeper sense of internal peace. This relaxation of his mental barriers, he speculated, might have contributed to making this connection possible. Hikari contemplated the idea that his position and the confidence it brought had permeated his subconscious, allowing him to approach his training with a more open and relaxed mindset. This mental state, free from the weight of proving himself and now finally fully accepted within the clan after 8 long years of calculating and living under a constant, yet subtle tension, might have been the key to achieving what had been just out of reach for 5 years. The realization that his psychological state could have such a profound impact on his shinobi skills was enlightening. It suggested that his journey to mastering natural energy was not just a physical challenge but a deeply mental and spiritual one as well. As he lay down to sleep, With his eyes still pulsating from the day's efforts, Hikari felt a renewed sense of purpose and optimism. The breakthrough of the evening was a reminder that growth often comes from unexpected places, and sometimes, easing the pressure on oneself can open the door to new possibilities. This lesson, learned in the training field, promised to influence not just his approach to mastering natural energy, but also his leadership and personal growth moving forward. Chapter 56, The Start of Cellular Research with Hinome. The next morning, buoyed by the high spirits from his breakthrough, Hikari completed his pre-afternoon training with ease. It wasn't long after when one of his attendants approached him with news that brightened his mood further. The newly procured expensive equipment he and Hinome had been eagerly awaiting had secretly arrived at the compound during the night. It had also already been delivered to Hinome's research room within the residence by now. Acknowledging the update with a nod, Hikari made his way to the newly established main research room, curious and excited to see the new tools that would push their work forward. Upon entering, he found Hinome already there, deeply engrossed in examining the equipment from head to toe in detail. She was clad in her white research coat and using other similar necessities like masks and gloves. Alongside her were a few members of her research team, all of them focused on the newly arrived tools. Without needing any explicit instruction, after seeing him, they all saluted and addressed him respectfully, after which they quickly gathered their notes and materials, making their way out of the room. Their departure was orderly and swift, leaving Hikari and Hinome alone amid the array of new equipment that filled the space. The equipment that arrived was specifically designed to advance cellular research, a field that required precision, delicacy, and a deep understanding of biological processes. Among the various tools and devices, there were sophisticated cell extractors, designed for the delicate task of isolating cells without damaging them. Additionally, there were incubators, providing the perfect environment for cell cultivation and multiplication, mimicking the conditions necessary for growth outside the human body. There were only a few pieces of such technology in the current shinobi world, made by a few special engineers, different equipment and parts from all around the world, making it nearly impossible for anyone who was not of Hikari's current status and wealth to acquire them. And it involved Hikari keeping tabs on them and following it all even months before he became the third elder in preparation. The centerpiece of the new equipment, however, was a set of human-sized tanks. These tanks were designed with versatility in mind, capable of holding entire human bodies for advanced research and experimentation if the need arose in the future or something unexpected happened during their cellular multiplication phase requiring future analysis. As Hikari and Hinome went over each piece of equipment, their interactions remained strictly professional, tactfully avoiding any mention of the personal moment they had shared the day before. Their focus was on the specifications, functions, and quality of the tools before them. They discussed the potential applications and how each device could be integrated into their current research projects, particularly how they could be used in conjunction with Hinome's unique microscopic Byakugan vision. Hinome's ability, which had recently advanced to reach the cellular vision level, when combined with the advanced microscopes that were part of the equipment, opened up new possibilities for their research. These microscopes could magnify her vision further, allowing for unprecedented detail in their study of cells and their structures. The scene in the research room was one of intense concentration and mutual respect for each other's high expertise. As they moved from one piece of equipment to the next, there was a palpable sense of excitement about the potential these tools represented. For now, your focus should be on extracting and then successfully multiplying the cells of those chakra-infused mice, Hikari directed, his tone serious yet encouraging. I believe it's still premature to proceed with human experimentation at least for a few years. However, our ultimate goal is clear: the successful transplantation of foreign cells from individuals with desired characteristics into our own bodies. Hinome nodded, her expression determined. I understand. The first step is mastering the process with the mice. By ensuring we can control cell growth and replication in them, we're laying the groundwork for more complex procedures. And with those tanks, we can move towards larger-scale experiments. Initially for the mice, ensuring we can monitor and adjust the environment to suit the needs of different cell types. Hikari nodded, right. And the advanced microscopes, combined with your Byakugan, will give us a rare insight into the process at a cellular level. Observing how chakra influences cell behavior in real time will be invaluable. Our approach, Hinome continued, will be methodical. We'll document each variation in the process, analyzing how different chakra natures affect cell viability and growth. This data will be crucial when we eventually transition to human cells. Hikari nodded and concluded, once we've perfected the technique with mice, we'll have a solid foundation for moving on to the next phase with humans. Your unique ability to see at the cellular level will be key in identifying and selecting the ideal cells for transplantation. However, it's important to remember that all of these efforts, while groundbreaking, cannot fully substitute for actual genetic research, Hikari added thoughtfully. True transformation of our bloodlines and destinies hinges on our understanding and manipulation at the genetic level. So, alongside this work, you should continue to refine your vision and explore that domain as well. Hikari was well aware that genetic research was almost non-existent in their world, in a slight contrast to the cellular level insights they could piece together from scattered sources over months of diligent searching, their vision and clans and Konoha's internet medical records. The cellular work we're undertaking is crucial as the first step, the building block, and a less favorable alternative if needed, but unlocking the secrets of genetics could offer us the keys to fundamentally altering our bloodlines, enabling us to potentially bypass all kinds of natural limitations. Hinome absorbed his words, understanding the immense challenge and opportunity they represented. So, I'll dedicate part of my research to developing techniques for genetic analysis and manipulation. My Byakugan's ability to see at a microscopic level could also be crucial in identifying genetic markers and alterations in the future when it gets even more powerful. Hikari and Hinome were setting their sights on discoveries that could redefine the very essence of shinobi capabilities, guided by a blend of Hikari's knowledge from another world and the unique powers of Hinome's eyes. Soon after imparting these thoughts and setting the stage for the ambitious path ahead, Hikari excused himself from the room, leaving Hinome to her work. His departure was a silent acknowledgement of his trust in her abilities and her dedication to their shared goals. Hinome, now alone with the equipment and her thoughts, felt a surge of motivation fueled by the enormity of the task ahead and the confidence placed in her by Hikari. She inwardly vowed to not disappoint him and in the future, and with her research, to create a reality in which the two of them could truly break through their natural confines and truly be open with one another, in this kind of troubled and dangerous world, without any fear for their future, and unexpected outcomes, that were always on Hikari's mind since a young age, for some reason, in her observation and her deep silent understanding of him over the years. Chapter 57, Venturing Outside the Clan Compound. 1 month later, Hikari was making his way through Konoha. He was crossing one of the village's bridges over the Naka River, which generally split the area where the medium and large clans, of various sizes and influence, including the Hyuga, lived from where everyone else stayed. The lengthy river flowed gently through Konoha, its waters clear and serene. Crossing it led Hikari into the Hot Springs district, a lively area known for its warm, steaming baths and welcoming atmosphere. His next destination was the Hotaki clan's residence, as they currently lived in the more civilian part of the village, unlike the Aberme and Inyazuka. As the Hyuga clan's newly appointed alliance coordinator, Hikari was finally formally stepping into that pivotal role now. His mission was to strengthen the bonds between his clan and their traditional allies alongside forming entirely new alliances. The streets here were filled with the sounds of laughter and conversation, offering a stark contrast to the more reserved areas of the village, as the Hyuga clan compound usually was. While walking, Hikari reflected on his previous meetings with the heads of the Inyazuka and Aberme clans that just concluded. They were his first targets for today, and the meetings with them lasted for a few hours. Despite being quite young, due to his position as the third elder and alliance coordinator of the Hyuga clan, the meetings were conducted with the gravity, diplomacy and respect expected to be given for someone of his role, so, he met with both heads of the two clans. Both clan heads, some Inyazuka and Shibuya Aberme, now in their early 20s and newly appointed, but with personal strengths already reaching into the elite Jonin level territory, shared their concerns with Hikari, particularly about Danzo's aggressive tactics to recruit or more accurately, poach young talent from their clans for his root organization with and sometimes even without the consent of the two clans, but there was nothing they could do. After all, the Hokage's faction was out of the reach of their ability to fight against. During these discussions, Hikari conveyed the Hyuga clan's shared alarm over Danzo's actions and extended a promise of support to both clans in resisting such encroachments in the future. Yet, Hikari was acutely aware of the underlying dynamics at play. By timing their offer of support just right after the deed was already done, the Hyuga clan could then position themselves as indispensable allies to both the Inyazuka and Aberme clans going forward. This strategic move was designed to increase their dependence on the Hyuga, thereby strengthening the Hyuga clan's influence and ensuring that these clans would be more closely tied to them moving forward. Due to his prominent role and high status within the Hyuga clan, Hikari was currently guarded by an entourage of 15 ordinary Jonin-level bodyguards, all hailing from the clan's side branch, as seen by their covered foreheads. These bodyguards formed a protective circle around him as they moved, their faces set in vigilant and serious expressions, their demeanor machine-like in their focus and efficiency. Meanwhile, elite Jonin of the Hyuga clan typically all hailed from the various main branch lineages directly, so they were of a higher status and they were usually needed to remain within the clan's domain during all times, safeguarding it against any potential threats. And there were not many of them, to begin with, probably not more than 1 or 2 dozen in the entire clan, in Hikari's impression. They were typically really close in bloodline to elders. This all meant that, despite Hikari's significant position, elite Jonins were still not available to accompany and protect him when he went outside the clan's immediate vicinity like today. The reason for the current number of Jonin accompanying Hikari wasn't just a reflection of their availability within the clan but also a strategic decision to avoid sending the wrong message to Konoha at large. Deploying too large of a protective ring could suggest that the Hyuga clan harbored a deep-seated mistrust of the village. Such a display could inadvertently alienate the clan from the rest of Konoha, a scenario the Hyugas were keen to avoid, even though they really harbored deep mistrust for it at large now. This careful balance of protection and perception was a calculated move, playing into the complex politics of village life. The Hyuga clan, while protective of its best prodigy, was mindful of the broader implications of their actions. They aimed to protect Hikari effectively without casting any shadows on their loyalty and trust in the village's security measures. However, the presence of the bodyguards wasn't without justification. A few years back, during Hikari's initial visits to Sakumo Hitaki, the Anbu frequently intercepted him, urging him to meet with the Hokage for some reason. Hikari consistently refused, asserting that he was under no obligation to comply with Hokage's requests for a meeting. He wasn't part of Konoha's standard shinobi force, nor did he serve in any of Konoha's administrative bodies. Instead, he was a member of the Hyuga clan's main branch, and he argued that the Hokage had no direct authority over him in any way and cities the Konoha's founding agreements. Initially, the Anbu's approaches were polite, but their interactions grew tense over time, as Hikari's rejected them over and over again, culminating in a standoff with Hikari's Jonin bodyguards at one time before they backed off for good. After these confrontations, the Anbu ceased their attempts to coerce Hikari into meeting with the Hokage, probably so that the old man could try and indoctrinate or test his mindset, potential, or strength in some sneaky way. Hikari's steadfast refusal to meet him had even more obvious reasons, concerns for his own safety, for the safety of his own time and brain cells, and it was also a stance supported by the Hyuga Council. So, he directed the Anbu to convey a message to the Hokage every time. Any official communication with him should be routed through the Hyuga Patriarch first, as he was just following the internal clan rules that the Patriarch established for his conduct outside. As Hikari and his entourage of bodyguards navigated the streets of Konoha, they drew the curious gazes of civilians. Hikari, in his traditional Hyuga-style dark blue robes, complemented with a heiori, presented an image of nobility and calm authority. His attire, rich in the clan's heritage, set him apart, highlighting his status within the Hyuga and his distinct role in the village's tapestry despite his young age. In fact, it made him even more important looking to everyone passing by. His bodyguards, similarly, were not clad in the Konoha Jonin uniforms but wore uniforms that echoed the Hyuga style. This choice of attire served as a visual statement of their allegiance to the clan first and foremost, reinforcing the notion of unity and distinct identity among the Hyuga members. Civilians watched with a mixture of respect, intrigue, and a slight unease as this formidable procession passed. Some whispered among themselves, speculating on the nature of Hikari's visit or the implications of such a visible show of clan solidarity within the village. Children paused in their play to stare, while shopkeepers and passers-by momentarily halted their activities to take in the sight. Hikari, for his part, maintained a composed demeanor, his focus forward. His appearance and the silent, protective circle formed by his bodyguards conveyed a sense of purpose and determination, leaving a lasting impression on those who witnessed their quick passage. As Hikari made his way through Konoha, overhearing some of the slanderous rumors about Sakumo Hitaki that emerged during the last few days, he found it intriguing, a fascinating study of how easily public opinion could be swayed by the narrative spun by those in power. His observation of the villagers' quickness to condemn Sakumo based on rumors served as a confirmation of the gullibility and malleability of the masses, also present in his past life. The ability of the Hokage's faction to manipulate public perception to such a large degree highlighted an aspect of power dynamics within Konoha that Hikari, ever the pragmatist, recognized as a truly valuable area. Hikari's understanding of the advantages that came with controlling the narrative and public opinion was sharpened by his knowledge from a modern-era past life. Yet, Hikari was under no illusion about the dynamics of power in this world. He recognized that, despite the potential leverage offered by soft power through narrative control, it was hard power, the sheer force of elite shinobi strength and ability that ultimately held sway in their society. The dominance of elite personal force over the public sentiment of broader masses was a fundamental truth of the shinobi world, one that the Hokage's faction seemed to forget. He long understood that the mistreatment and alienation of a shinobi as powerful as Sakumo by the village's leadership could be a critical mistake, one that Hikari could exploit next. By positioning himself as an ally to Sakumo in the wake of the Hokage faction's blunders, he envisioned turning one of Konoha's most formidable warriors against those who had sought to undermine him. The Hokage faction's failure to recognize all of this, in his view, would be their downfall, especially as he worked to align Sakumo's considerable abilities with his own ambitions. Chapter 58, A Talk and Alliance with Sakumo Hotaki. After navigating the streets of Konoha for a while, Hikari, flanked by his entourage of bodyguards, reached his destination. The journey through the village, under the curious and sometimes astonished gazes of the citizens, culminated in front of the Hotaki clan's residence. This compound, less populous than in its heydays and now housing Sakumo along with just a few dozen other clansmen, presented a quiet but dignified front. The Hotaki clan's residence was marked by its understated elegance. The main house, constructed in a traditional style, featured gracefully sloping roofs and wooden beams, exemplifying classic shinobi architecture. Surrounding the structure was a modestly sized garden, meticulously kept, with various plants that added tranquility to the compound. A sturdy gate stood at the entrance, signifying both welcome and warning. It led to a stone path that meandered through the garden, guiding visitors towards the main building. Here and there, practice dummies and weapon racks hinted at the martial prowess of the clan's members, even in reduced numbers. Hikari approached the main building, after signaling his entourage to remain standing back, his presence commanding yet respectful. An old man, who appeared to be a caretaker or perhaps a retired clan member, was sitting serenely in front of it. Pausing before the elder, Hikari addressed him with a formal tone, "I'm here to see Sakumo-sama, is he available?" His voice carried a blend of respect and purpose, signaling the importance of his visit. Recognizing Hikari from his previous visits, the old man stood up with a similarly respectful nod. "Wait here, I will go and check with the clan head himself," he informed Hikari, adding a note of concern. "He has not been feeling quite well recently, so please understand." With that, the man departed, leaving the understanding Hikari alone as he made his way to consult with the clan head. After a short while, the old man returned, his expression neutral but carrying an implicit invitation. "You may go ahead," he told Hikari, indicating that Sakumo was willing to receive him despite his recent withdrawal from the world and mental state in general due to the recent rumors surrounding him. The old man's demeanor suggested a mix of reverence for Sakumo's status within the clan and concern for his well-being. Hikari made his way through the quiet hallway of the Hotaki residence, each step bringing him closer to the darkened room where Sakumo resided. As he reached the sliding door that separated him from the clan head, he noticed it was slightly ajar, opening onto a courtyard that allowed a stream of sunlight to spill into the otherwise dim space. Sakumo, seated in a position that allowed him to gaze out into the courtyard, turned his attention towards the door as Hikari appeared. He managed a smile, a warm greeting that contrasted with the solemn atmosphere surrounding him. "Hikari-kun," he acknowledged with a nod, his voice not appearing that much strange. Hikari thought to himself, he's masking it quite well. No wonder no one in the original story, neither Kakashi nor the other clansmen, managed to figure out what was going through his head right now and what he wanted to do to himself. "Sakumo-san," Hikari started, "I've kept hearing about some troubling rumors lately more and more, and it made me want to come and talk to you directly, to hear your side of things and see how you're really doing. I hope I'm not bothering you by coming here like this," he said, making sure his words were sincere and respectful. "Rumors," Sakumo smiled slightly, "I've learned to accept that they come with the territory of being who I am in this village. But I assure you, I'm managing as well as one can in situations like these." His demeanor, the calmness in his voice, and the poise with which he carried himself all contributed to an impression of wellness. Meanwhile, Hikari quickly processed the information, connecting the dots in his mind. Having really no friends to begin with, due to jealousy and suppression from the Hokage's faction, and being introverted by nature, on top of masking his real mind this well, it's truly expected for no one to understand him, Hikari reflected. Soon after, Hikari and Sakumo found themselves sitting outside in the courtyard, enjoying some tea together. Then after a bit more of casual conversation, the atmosphere shifted as Hikari's expression grew more serious. Setting down his teacup, he looked directly at Sakumo with a gravity that matched his words. Sakumo-san, I hope you don't mind me being forthright with you. It's clear to me, and likely to you as well, that the rumors circulating about you haven't just sprung up on their own. They seem too pointed, too widespread to be mere village gossip. I'm younger, I know, and I hope that doesn't lessen the weight of my words, but I have some thoughts on the matter that I'd like to share with you if you are willing to hear me out. Hikari said, his tone respectful yet underscored with a sincere desire to discuss the issue at hand openly. Sakumo was a bit surprised to hear what Hikari wanted to say, but he kept his usual calm and serious look while saying, "Please do continue, Hikari-kun, no need to be so reserved. I value your opinion quite well." He knew Hikari as a friendly and talented youngster, the child of two shinobi colleagues he once knew well. These were people who had served with him and sadly didn't make it through the Second Shinobi World War, something that weighed heavily on Sakumo since he was their leader at the time. He had always seen Hikari, who started visiting him a few years back, as a nice, polite young man, quite ambitious and different from his parents in many ways. Sakumo thought about how Hikari seemed to value his own survival more, a trait that might have saved him from the tragic fate of his parents. He realized that the negative rumors about himself might be because people saw him as too gentle or easygoing, someone who wouldn't push back against criticism or tough situations. "Let me speak plainly and with total honesty then," Hikari began, his voice steady and sincere. "I find it hard to believe that anyone could stay completely unaffected in the face of such onslaught. I just believe that you're exceptionally skilled at concealing your true feelings. And despite the perceptions others may have of you, I also believe that even the strongest and kindest among us reach a point where they can no longer just stand by and not retaliate against those who have launched such targeted, malicious psychological attacks against them. And I believe that, after giving it some thought, I've come up with an idea on how you can retaliate against them without compromising your principles or your loyalty to the village," Hikari continued, his tone suggesting a blend of strategic thinking and genuine concern for Sakumo's predicament. "Hikari-kun, I appreciate your concerns, but I'm really fine. I've gotten used to it," Sakumo sighed, a note of resignation in his voice as he responded to Hikari's earnest proposal. "No, Sakumo-san, I don't believe you're as fine as you say. Nor do I think you've resigned yourself to the current state of affairs. You've scarcely left this residence in the last month, if at all. It's clear to me that you're struggling, perhaps even feeling depressed. Suppressing your true feelings and thoughts will only make things harder for you in the long run. So, please, just hear me out on my proposal. Then you can judge for yourself whether it holds any merit or not," Hikari pressed on, his tone mixing concern with a gentle insistence. "In fact, have you started having some extreme thoughts, perhaps?" Hikari ventured further, his voice laced with a cautious concern. At Hikari's probing question, Sakumo was genuinely taken aback, his usual composed demeanor momentarily slipping as his eyes widened slightly in surprise. Hikari's accurate guess had struck a chord, revealing a hidden layer of turmoil within him. Indeed, the relentless pressure, the whispers of condemnation, and the isolation had begun to erode Sakumo's resilience, leading him to entertain thoughts that were once unthinkable. Could it truly be as Hikari-kun said, "Do I have depression? Did my mental state really get that affected already?" Sakumo found himself pondering, the question echoing in his mind. For so long, he had been a bastion of strength and resolve, a figure others looked up to. The notion that he, Sakumo Hitaki, could be suffering from depression, that his unyielding spirit could be faltering under the weight of his circumstances, was both startling and illuminating. Seeing Sakumo's moment of vulnerability, Hikari didn't pause, choosing to press on with his point, aiming to guide Sakumo's perspective even more. "Sakumo-san, the fault doesn't lie with you. It's unjust to blame yourself to such an extent, to let those thoughts consume you. The real fault lies with those who stirred the public against you, who may have even manipulated those you chose to save into speaking out against you a few days ago," Hikari spoke with conviction. "It's crucial to distinguish between the roles people play and who they truly are beneath those titles. Respect for their positions doesn't require acceptance of their actions, especially when those actions are driven by malice. Being in a position of power doesn't grant anyone infallibility or moral superiority. Even the title of Hokage is not preordained or reserved for a select few by divine right. It's a position that signifies leadership and responsibility, one that can be attained by anyone dedicated to the well-being of the village, including you," Hikari continued, his words deliberate and empowering. "Those who misuse their authority, who leverage it for personal power grabs, they're the ones at fault. Their positions don't shield them from accountability, nor do they grant them the right to manipulate and harm others without consequence. Remember, power in the village is about service and protection, not coercion or suppression, Hikari concluded. Hikari's decision to visit Sakumo today was the result of careful consideration, pinpointing this moment as the most critical juncture for intervention. He sensed that Sakumo was on the cusp of piecing together the origins of his plight, recognizing the forces at play behind the scenes. However, this period of realization also posed a significant risk. If Hikari delayed his visit any longer, Sakumo might have spiraled further into despair or, in the worst case, completely ended his own life like in the original story. The situation had become increasingly dire, especially as those Sakumo had once saved began to turn against him, likely influenced by the manipulations of the Hokage's faction. This betrayal by his former teammates added another huge layer to Sakumo's already existing predicament, and Hikari, aware of the delicate timing and not knowing the precise dates from the original story's timeline of this period regarding the actual suicide realization of Sakumo, felt the urgency to act right away. He understood that waiting was no longer an option, the stakes were too high, and the window for effectively reaching out to Sakumo and redirecting his path was rapidly closing. Additionally, Hikari felt that he could help change Sakumo's mind about his original decision successfully because he knew that Sakumo's choice to end his life was also filled with doubts from the start. He knew that his decision was made amidst huge uncertainty and was likely a choice that teetered on the edge of indecision. That was because, from the original story, Hikari knew that Sakumo's soul ended up in purgatory after his suicide, and that realm was reserved for souls burdened with extreme regrets and unresolved attachments to the living world. This knowledge gave Hikari a crucial insight. Sakumo's choice was not made with a sense of sharp resolution but rather as a last resort by someone who still harbored deep connections and unfulfilled aspirations. It suggested that Sakumo's spirit was not at peace, plagued by thoughts of what could have been and the impact of his actions on those he left behind, particularly his son, Kakashi. Understanding this, Hikari believed that if he could provide Sakumo with a semblance of hope and a sense of purpose, and a different perspective in general, it might be enough to tip the scales. By reaching out at this pivotal moment, Hikari aimed to inject a level of clarity and support into Sakumo's troubled thoughts, offering him a lifeline out of the despair that threatened to consume him. Just like in the original story, if someone had truly seen the depth of Sakumo's inner pain, they might have been able to pull him back from the brink. Unfortunately, back then, no one did. However, Hikari noticed it now. Capturing Sakumo's attention, Hikari pressed on, "The village belongs to you just as much as it does to anyone in the Hokage's circle. And you didn't harm the village's interests in any real sense. Think about it, had someone close to the Hokage done the same, would there be such an uproar? You're being targeted because you're seen as a formidable variable, a potential Hokage who operates beyond their direct influence. Their actions are driven by a desire for power, not the village's well-being. Why succumb to their narrative? Challenge them, not as representatives of the village, but as individuals driven by their own selfish motives, and indirectly improve the entire village in this way as well. So, I'm putting forward a formal proposal, consider running for the position of Jonin commander of the village, and our Hyuga clan will support you. It's time to stop being on the defensive, constantly repelled by their maneuvers. Use that role not just to counter their influence, but to foster positive change within Konoha too," Hikari concluded with conviction. Sakumo, visibly taken by Hikari's passionate speech, showed a spark of interest that hadn't been there before. It was clear that the young man's words had struck a chord, offering a new perspective on Sakumo's dire situation. Yet, despite the sense of agreement that seemed to resonate within him, Sakumo expressed his reservations with a thoughtful expression. "You've got some really good points, Hikari-kun, and you're truly wise beyond your years," Sakumo said, showing a mix of surprise and agreement for Hikari's philosophy fundamentally. "I haven't thought about it all like that fully before, and you make a lot of sense. But, to be honest, the idea of running for Jonin commander seems pretty far-fetched to me. With all these rumors floating around and how people see me now, it feels like I don't stand much of a chance, even if your clan supports me. I'm sorry, but I think the odds are against me." "Well, it's not just my clan that will back you. If you're on board, and if the second part of my plan unfolds as I've envisioned, we're aiming to position you as the informal leader of a new faction within the village. Think of it as a small clans faction, which would include clans like your own Hitaki clan. I'm sure you're well aware of the pressures small clans in Konoha are facing, given the challenges your clan has encountered," Hikari explained, laying out a broader strategy. After hearing this, Sakumo's surprise at Hikari's further explanation grew once again, and as he mulled over his words some more, his admiration for Hikari's strategic mind grew even more. Then the more Sakumo considered the logic and potential impact of assembling an informal small clans faction, the more he recognized the true brilliance of Hikari's vision. Being the leader of the Hotaki clan himself, Sakumo was intimately familiar with the challenges and pressures small clans faced under the governance of Konoha's leaders. His clan, once numerous and influential, had dwindled significantly in size and strength since its inception into the village many times over. Sakumo had witnessed firsthand how the policies and practices of the Hokage's faction had led to the dilution of his clan's power. The systematic poaching of members, the indoctrination of young shinobi in the academy, and the encouragement of marriages outside the clan to civilians were some of the strategies that were implanted by all Hokages. This realization had only crystallized for Sakumo in light of his own recent experiences, leading him to reassess his once positive perception of the village's leadership completely. As Sakumo reflected on Hikari's plan, he began to see the potential for genuine change. This wasn't just about restoring his own reputation or securing a position of influence, it was about helping the small clans to foster a more equitable and inclusive village governance. Hikari's satisfaction grew as he observed Sakumo's amazed reaction, his strategy slowly unfolding as planned. He had carefully considered Sakumo's probabilistic commitment to his clan and his inherently selfless character in crafting his approach as well. By appealing to Sakumo's desire to protect his clan and improve the village's political landscape for everyone else, Hikari aimed to motivate him not only from a place of personal gain but for the greater good as well. He was even preparing to bring up Kakashi and his future as well, but now realized that there would be no reason for that, as Sakumo already practically agreed, just doubting the feasibility of their plan. Hikari understood that in the original timeline, the Hotaki clan effectively vanished, leaving Kakashi, who never questioned anything and blindly served the Hokage's faction his entire life despite their actions, as its sole representative. From Hikari's perspective, the upcoming Third Shinobi World War might have been the period during which the Hotaki clan was systematically dismantled. This would have been done quietly, removing a clan capable of producing shinobi with Sakumo's level of power, thereby eliminating what the Hokage's faction perceived as a significant future risk to their control. Chapter 59, Numbers Game, Hikari's Electoral Strategy. Sakumo nodded, absorbing the depth of Hikari's plan now fully. Yes, I see your point. With the support of your Hyuga clan and my own involvement, rallying the other smaller shinobi clans in the village might indeed be very feasible. However, even with all of them on the boat, I'm still concerned about whether we would have enough numbers to secure a majority in the Jonin Council vote. And it will be pretty hard to convince that many civilians to hypothetically vote for me. Those recent rumors are one thing, but civilians are also traditionally very leaning toward the Hokage's faction, he said, now reflecting only on the logistical challenges of their goal and expressing no other disapproval. I've done the numbers on this, and you're right, Sakumo-san. Relying solely on our alliance, it's going to be a tough call to rally enough Jonin behind you. And trying to sway the civilian population is an uphill battle given the Hokage's influence and the perks he can offer too. But there's one group you've overlooked, a group even more sidelined than the smaller clans, the Uchiha clan. They're arguably the most marginalized group in the village right now. If we manage to get their support for your bid as Jonin commander, and in exchange, promise to them that you to use that position to support them more and work towards politically reintegrating them into the village's fabric further in the future, they might just be willing to join our cause as well this time around. Hikari finally outlined his entire strategy this time. Hikari had indeed roughly done the math required for their plan to succeed. He understood that the Jonin Council, which votes for the next Jonin commander or the head of the Jonin Council, comprised approximately 500 members. To be considered a candidate in the election, one needed at least 50 votes, and the nominee with the highest tally would ultimately secure the position. Within this body, the Hyuga clan boasted 100 members in the Jonin Council alone, a significant but not decisive contingent. It was worth noting that this number represented only about half of the Hyuga's Jonin-level shinobi. The others, despite holding Jonin ranks, were not part of the Jonin Council. This was primarily because they hadn't participated in missions contributing directly to the village's shinobi efforts, choosing instead to focus on being permanently stationed within the clan. This group is mainly from the main branch as well. But isn't your clan traditionally seen as rivals to the Uchiha? Would they really agree to collaborate with us on this? Sakumo asked, voicing a concern that naturally arose from the historical tension between the Hyuga and Uchiha clans. In reality, the rivalry between our clans isn't as intense as people make it out to be, Sakumo-san. There haven't been any wars or significant conflicts with the Uchiha since the village was founded, and even before then, certainly nothing on the scale of the Uchiha's past with the Senju. I believe the idea of our rivalry has been largely amplified by the Hokage's faction, who stand to gain the most from keeping our clans at odds with one another. The other elders of my clan have all also recognized this manipulation, and that's a major reason why they're open to aligning with the Uchiha now. Aside from the normal competitive spirit stemming from our similar Kekkei Genkai and Dojutsu, there aren't deep-seated grievances or conflicting interests between us. The real hurdle instead might be the overall Uchiha's reputation for arrogance and their tendency to isolate themselves, but given the pressure they've faced from the Hokage's faction, I'm optimistic. I doubt the Uchiha elders are blind to the benefits of our proposal, especially in light of their current situation. They're likely keen on reintegrating more closely with the village, at this time, and aren't completely gone into the clan insulation philosophy. With your involvement, Sakumo-san, and the support of other smaller clans, we have a strong case to make. I believe the Uchiha will see the wisdom in joining forces regarding this matter. Hikari laid out his true analysis. Sakumo listened intently, processing Hikari's perspective on the matter. After a moment of reflection, his expression softened, signaling a complete shift in his initial skepticism as well. You make a compelling argument overall, Hikari-kun. I must admit, I've been viewing the situation through the lens of old perceptions and rivalries just now, Sakumo conceded. If the Hyuga and Uchiha clans can also set aside past differences, real or exaggerated, for the greater good of the village, then perhaps there is hope for genuine change on a broad level. Uniting our forces could also be the key to averting potential great future conflicts within the village, stemming from the injustices faced by the Uchiha and the smaller clans. Their growing grievances, if left unaddressed, could destabilize Konoha and explode sometime in the future. If we manage to politically address and resolve these issues, however, it would mark a significant achievement for the village's future stability and strength. Such a coalition could truly safeguard the village's long-term prosperity and harmony, Sakumo reflected. Then clearly suddenly reinvigorated by the conversation and the possibility of making a significant impact, Sakumo found himself unknowingly stepping away from the shadow of his recent troubles completely. The rumors and negative thoughts that had once weighed heavily on him seemed less oppressive as he considered the potential for real change within the village he loved. Therefore, a newfound enthusiasm evident in his demeanor and a spark of passion lighting up his face, Sakumo leaned into the discussion, genuinely curious and hopeful about their potential chances of success. So, are you sure that with the Uchiha also on board, we would have enough numbers? He inquired, fully bought in, his voice carrying a mix of optimism and a desire for reassurance. His question stemmed from a place of genuine curiosity. Politics had never been his main arena, he was a shinobi at heart, more accustomed to the straightforwardness of missions than the intricate dance of village politics. The math works out in our favor, Sakumo-san. Honestly, I was as surprised as you might be when I went through the numbers with the help of the clan's intelligence. I bet the Hokage's faction would be quite caught off guard too. And that's why we must keep our strategy tightly under wraps until election day to prevent any unforeseen moves from their side. They've proven time and again how insidious they can be, Hikari shared, his voice carrying a tone of strategic caution. Let me lay out the numbers for you. The Uchiha clan contributes about 100 members to the Jonin Council, the same as my clan. If they're all on board and cast their votes, we'd only need around 50 more to secure a win. The smaller clans, when their numbers are pooled together, have about 75 members in the council. This means, that if we manage to get everyone to vote, we'll have more than enough to win the majority. It's all about unity and coordination at this point, Hikari explained, laying out the arithmetic of their plan with clarity. Hikari's calculations were not made lightly. Initially, he had assumed that securing additional votes from civilian jonin through covered incentives might be necessary to ensure victory in the election. However, a thorough consultation with the Hyuga patriarch and a review of the clan's intelligence resources led him to a surprising conclusion: such measures were unnecessary. This revelation not only reinforced the strength of their strategy but also highlighted the intrinsic power and influence wielded by the Hyuga and Uchiha clans within the village. The fact that both clans had about half of their jonin force not even participating in the Jonin Council spoke volumes about their untapped potential. It underscored a significant aspect of Konoha's shinobi hierarchy. Despite the apparent dominance of the Hokage faction, there existed formidable pockets of power, represented by the Hyuga and Uchiha, that could dramatically alter the village's political landscape when mobilized. This insight was a revelation to Hikari, also emphasizing the parity between the Hyuga and Uchiha clans in terms of their capacity to influence village affairs if they joined together. Meanwhile, Hikari also got further detailed intelligence assessment regarding the representation of other notable clans within Konoha's Jonin Council when researching this. This comprehensive analysis provided him with a clearer picture of the political landscape and the relative power levels of various important shinobi clans within the village as well. The Yamanaka, Akimichi, and Nara clans, each had an average representation of about 25 members within the Jonin Council, for example. On the other hand, the Abarame, Inuzuka, Shimura, and Sarutobi clans had roughly half that number, with an average of around 12 members each in the Jonin Council. Hikari's analytical approach also extended even beyond just the Jonin Council's membership counts. He delved into the broader power dynamics and the distribution of elite-level shinobi across the village. He now had some kind of statistical representation inside of his head of various power dynamics of the clans and village after getting that elder-level intelligence estimation after becoming one himself recently. His investigation revealed a fascinating insight. Combined, the Hyuga and Uchiha clans commanded an impressive 40% of the village's entire elite Jonin pool, with both of them having half of that share at the standalone levels. This figure also included not only those Jonin within the Jonin Council but also those in specialized units like the Anbu, but that analysis also included the substantial Jonin force that Uchiha and Hyuga clans had but that constantly stayed within the clan compounds. Hikari also found that alongside the Hyuga and Uchiha, considered the village's foremost clans, the Yamanaka, Akimichi, and Nara also classified among the larger clans, collectively held about 55% of the village's Jonin forces. Adding the medium-sized clans to the mix, including the Sarutobi, Shimura, Inuzuka, and Abarame, this percentage rose to around 65%. Furthermore, when considering the smaller clans like the Hotaki, the total share of Jonin hailing from all shinobi clans astonishingly reached 80% of the village's entire Jonin force. This analysis truly highlighted the significant advantage shinobi from established clans had over those born to civilian families. In such an environment, only the most fortunate, talented, and intellectually gifted civilian shinobi could break through to claim a share of the remaining 20% of Jonin positions. Reflecting on these newfound insights, Hikari again felt a profound sense of gratitude for his clan affiliation. Otherwise, being reborn as a civilian, for example, then it would truly have ended even before it began for him in his overall transmigration journey in this kind of low social mobility world. Chapter 60, Sakumo Hotaki's Astonishing Power. After discussing more of the intricacies of their complete strategy in depth, from top to bottom, Hikari suddenly shifted the conversation towards a different kind of engagement. Eager to gauge his own progress and understand the benchmark set by one of the world's current strongest shinobi of this era, he respectfully requested a friendly spar with Sakumo. It was an opportunity to measure himself against a true powerhouse, to see where he stood on the spectrum of strength within the shinobi world during this moment of time, and how did someone of elite Jonin level of strength fared against someone like Sakumo in general. Sakumo, rejuvenated by their conversation and the potential path forward they'd outlined, readily accepted Hikari's request. The prospect of a friendly spar seemed to further lift his spirits, adding a lightness to his mood that had been absent earlier. With a smile that spoke of his renewed vigor, he positioned himself opposite Hikari in the courtyard, ready to engage. As they faced off, the air between them crackled with anticipation. Hikari, serious and focused, regarded Sakumo with high respect due to a shinobi of his caliber and career. Sakumo's smile, however, hinted at the joy he found in the simplicity of a spar against a friendly and trusted junior whom he had quite a high opinion of after the previous conversation, a stark contrast to the weighty political discussions that had preceded. Hikari-kun, please don't take offense at my decision to forego using my sword in our spar today. My swordsmanship, which focuses on swift, decisive strikes meant to quickly conclude battles, poses a significant risk in a friendly match. It's not that I doubt your abilities, but at this juncture, engaging you with full force in that style could be perilous. However, I believe that in a few years, you'll be fully prepared to face such a challenge head-on and all out then. Until that point, I hope you understand my caution and accept it. Let's look forward to a spar where we can both unleash our full strength in the future. Sakumo said, maintaining a serious demeanor yet softening his words with understanding and a sincere look of encouragement on his kind-looking face, the quite standard for him. Sakumo-san, I'm not offended at all, as I'm quite aware of my current limits myself. You explaining all of this directly is already giving me a lot of respect, which I'm not sure I deserve at this point. Let's get started then. I hope that you at least won't hold back now in a state even without your sword as well, Hikari responded, his voice carrying a mix of respect and anticipation. He knew that this spar would be a great source of information on many things. As soon as Sakumo gave the nod to begin, Hikari activated his Byakugan, pouring chakra into it to enhance its capabilities to the fullest. He understood that to track Sakumo's movements, he'd need every advantage his dojutsu could offer. Yet, even with his Byakugan's power, and its innate talent in perceiving things in slow motion, Hikari was taken aback by Sakumo's sheer speed. By the time he registered Sakumo's initial movement, the elder shinobi was already closing the distance between them rapidly with just one initial foot movement and push at the start of the motion. In response, Hikari summoned the chakra to his hands, forming the twin lion fist. He recognized that against Sakumo's swift advances, precision attacks were less likely to land. The broad, sweeping nature of the twin lion fist would be his best chance at catching Sakumo. But Sakumo, ever the adept fighter, altered his path with another mere touch to the ground, circling behind Hikari like a shadow. Reacting on instinct, Hikari then initiated the rotation. But Sakumo, leveraging his mastery of chakra control and his profound understanding of combat tactics, found an opening. As Hikari's rotation came to an end, Sakumo emerged from the ground up, his chakra-enhanced hand gently pressing against Hikari's neck, a silent declaration of victory. Hikari, still catching his breath from the quick succession of events, turned to Sakumo with a mix of awe and confusion. "How did you?" he began, genuinely puzzled by the techniques Sakumo employed to circumvent his defenses. The moment Hikari initiated his rotation, expecting to create an impenetrable barrier around himself, Sakumo vanished from his enhanced field of vision, a feat that left Hikari stunned. "Sakumo-san, when my rotation started, you were completely out of my sight. Then, you reappeared from beneath, as if the earth itself was just another path for you," Hikari said, his voice laced with shock and curiosity. Sakumo chuckled at Hikari's astonishment, before moving his hand back and coming in front of Hikari again, a lightness in his voice that contrasted the seriousness of their quick spar. "Actually, what you witnessed is part of my expertise. My primary skill lies in concealing my presence in various ways, which sets the stage for my second specialty, ending confrontations with minimal strikes," he shared, his explanation shining a light on the depth of his shinobi artistry. "What I did just now," Sakumo continued, "was utilize the cover provided by the wind generated from your rotation technique. I seamlessly merged myself with it, then quickly submerged into the earth, using my chakra for concealment in various fashions that come with experience, becoming one with it without causing any disturbance. I waited there, beneath the surface, for your technique to complete its course. Once it did, I emerged behind you. This method of concealment, along with my kenjutsu, forms the cornerstone of my reputation as a formidable shinobi. And earth and wind are not even the only things I get very experienced in concealing myself in. For our clan's kenjutsu, concealment is a kind of a prerequisite if you want to be successful in it, due to its nature." Hikari absorbed Sakumo's explanation, the initial shock gradually giving way to deep admiration and contemplation. "That's incredible, Sakumo-san." Hikari finally responded, his tone reflecting both respect and a newfound understanding of the level of complexity that even the seemingly simplest shinobi principles like basic stealth capabilities and theories could be brought on by the most experienced shinobi like Sakumo. Meanwhile, Hikari couldn't help but acknowledge the deep level of trust Sakumo had placed in him by sharing such critical aspects of his abilities. In the midst of his next speech, for him to disclose these intricacies behind his exceptional speed, secrets, and taboos that most shinobi would guard extremely closely speaks volumes, Hikari quickly thought, noticing the significance of what Sakumo had revealed and the bond it implied between them already. "Your ability to seamlessly integrate with your environment, to the point of becoming virtually undetectable, even to the Byakugan, speaks volumes about your mastery," Hikari praised. Sakumo offered a modest smile at Hikari's praise, downplaying his own achievements with the wisdom of a seasoned shinobi. "Hikari-kun, your words honor me, but what you've witnessed today is largely a matter of experience, something you're still acquiring. The quick conclusion of our spar stems from your unfamiliarity with confronting opponents of my level, not a lack of skill on your part or the lack of performance of your dojutsu. When you activated your rotation, you were somewhat prepared to track my movements, yet a portion of your focus was scattered, not fully attuned to detecting shifts in the environment that I could exploit," Sakumo explained gently. "With your Byakugan, you possess the capability to detect even the subtlest shifts, including someone moving through the earth, as I did. It's just a matter of honing and increasing your attention to the area beneath you at all times during battles against opponents of my level," Sakumo responded, his tone both encouraging and instructive. "Traversing the earth with chakra stealthily isn't just a specialty of mine, it's a skill that many high-level shinobi develop over time and one you can master as well. It's essential to remain fully present and focused, especially when utilizing your dojutsu, Sakumo concluded. Thank you for the insight, Sakumo-san. Your advice is invaluable. If I may, though, I'm curious about another aspect of your abilities, your extraordinary, almost otherworldly to me, kind of speed. One of the strengths of my Byakugan is its ability to perceive actions at such a rate that movements seem almost to slow down, allowing me to react accordingly. Yet, during our spar just now, your speed was such that I couldn't even fully register your approach until you were nearly upon me. How do you achieve that level of speed, where even the Byakugan's advanced perception struggles to keep up? Hikari inquired, seeking to understand the nuances behind Sakumo's exceptional agility and speed, which seemed to challenge even the heightened capabilities of his dojutsu. Sakumo let out a chuckle before delving into an explanation that shed light on his remarkable speed. Ah, I see where your curiosity stems from. Speed is another prerequisite of our clan's kenjutsu technique. Besides the basic body flicker technique that many shinobi utilize, I incorporate lightning release to enhance the speed of my leg movements. Additionally, I use wind release not only to further propel myself forward but also to create a covering veil around me, which serves the dual purpose of masking my approach later if needed and aiding in my attack. He paused for a moment, allowing Hikari to absorb the information before continuing. There's also the ancient samurai step technique I've adapted to my style. It's all about precision in movement. I also used it for my second step during my rush against you just now. Additionally, over the years, I've also trained to instantly open and close the first gate, which gives a significant boost to my speed during my first step without sacrificing my control or precision. This combination of techniques enables me to achieve such incredible velocities. Sakumo smiled, acknowledging Hikari's keen interest, and that's why your ability to react to me at all also impressed me. Many shinobi, even those stronger than you now in general, often resort to different tactics when facing me, as reacting directly to my speed can be challenging. Honestly, they don't even manage to see me at all during battle, so they give that up and focus on countering me in other ways. So, your ability to even attempt a response is commendable and speaks volumes of your potential. It's a rare quality, one that you should continue to refine and build upon. His words were both an explanation of his own abilities and an encouragement for Hikari. The revelation of Sakumo's complex integration of techniques left Hikari profoundly astounded, to think of the complexity involved in harmoniously blending so many diverse principles into a singular, unparalleled technique of movement, and to achieve such mastery relatively early in life, in his early 30s. Hikari pondered internally, his true admiration for Sakumo deepening. It's no wonder he's considered a powerhouse, surpassing even the Sun unofficially and the third Hokage now unofficially too in sheer combat prowess in my opinion. He may even be the first in the entire world. The continuous cautious and fearful stance they've taken towards him makes perfect sense now. Given Sakumo's current capabilities, one can only speculate about the heights he might have reached had he continued to evolve, unhindered, while still in his prime, in the original series. This can't be completely accidental in my opinion. I'm now interested in the Hotaki clan too. It's impossible for any ordinary clan to produce a shinobi of this caliber. There are probably some secrets there to dig about their history. I'll have to go into researching it later. With such extraordinary speed as his foundation, there are few within the shinobi world who could stand as his equal. So this is what an elite jonin against a late cage level shinobi fight amounts to. And when factoring in the probably similarly earth-shattering kenjutsu of his, it's nearly unimaginable the level of threat he could pose to even the most formidable opponents. This insight into Sakumo's abilities not only intensified Hikari's respect for the legendary shinobi before him but also prompted a re-evaluation of his understanding of the potential within this world. It was a humbling moment for Hikari, one that expanded his perception of what was achievable by natives of this world, and that was without any special bloodlines. Yet, this underscores a crucial truth: regardless of one's personal might, there's a threshold of power beyond even the cage level that must be crossed to stand alone against some politically powerful individuals like the Hokage, and even that can't help you in the mental battles within oneself against your inner demons. Therefore, despite his legendary strength, Sakumo's story in the original timeline ended in complete tragedy. Now, having altered his path already to some extent, I'm curious to see the effects this will have. What changes will Sakumo's continued existence bring to this world? Hikari reflected, intrigued by the possibilities his intervention might have unlocked.
Thanks for listening.